This is Whataburger Friday Night Stars, presented by Game On Sports, live from the Star in Frisco, Texas, and the Dallas Cowboys headquarters. Here's Kyle Yeomans, Zach Walchuk, Eric Chiafalo, and Heckma Harrison.
Welcome to Whataburger Friday Night Stars. Friday Night Football is back, and so are we.
Super Bowl! Super Bowl!
Oh, he's still got that Cowboys hangover.
Oh, you're talking about,
baby!
you're talking about
Friday.
the star in the background.
Yeah.
What just happened? Cowboys?
Ice
Well,
Whites, baby.
Help
Just
them.
happened.
Who dat?
Heckma hasn't
We dat.
even bathed since the game.
Have not.
He doesn't want to wash off
my
that
gosh.
championship glory.
We call it victory formation.
Oh, my goodness.
Absolutely.
It's a victory Friday. It's a regional semifinal Friday. Let's go!
Well, so much for an intro. I had it
Forget
already.
your
Now,
intro.
That is the intro right
we were
there,
going
baby.
into it.
All right, hold on.
It's-
We can restart.
No, it's fine. It's fine. So the
Jeez,
Cowboys,
Chuck.
for everybody who's watching, we are not an NFL show, I promise.
We can be.
No, we're not.
We
This
are a
is a
Cowboys
high
show,
school
though.
football show.
a little
We're
NFL.
all about high school football. We are live, though, from the Star in Frisco. Glad you're with us here on Whataburger Friday Night Stars. The Cowboys do get a big-time win yesterday against the New Orleans Saints. 13-10 are now the leaders in the NFC East.
Love it.
And that is the last we're going to talk about the Cowboys here on this Friday night, because now, since it's
Debatable.
Friday night, it's about Friday Night Lights. Kyle Yeomans here, alongside the great trio of Whataburger Friday Night Stars analysts, Mr. Heckma Harrison,
That's
back
me.
and better than ever after glamping last weekend.
How was it, Heckma?
It was wonderful, guys. I call it going off the grid for a few days.
Yeah.
I missed you, though.
Did
Oh,
you really?
I did.
Don't lie to my face.
Not to your face, but I'm
But
telling
you're looking
you.
right at me and you're saying you missed me.
I missed you.
And I don't believe it.
Chuck, I did. You got to understand.
'Cause I
Okay.
missed you.
And you still gave us analysis. You know, I think that's what was incredible. You're off the grid. You don't want to talk to anybody. No cell phones, but I got to get off my high school football takes, and that's why I respect Heckma. You know,
Guys, it was
tremendously.
so cold out there. I
Yeah.
mean,
Was
could
it?
you tell?
You
that
were
I was-
bundled.
It
You were
looked
bundled.
like it was cold.
But I like the graphics that you guys, the little subtitles you gave me
We
at the.
can't take credit for any of that.
Absolutely.
Who did that?
That's the man upstairs. The execs.
The man
suits.
upstairs.
Yeah.
God did that.
No, the men. There's a group of men in there that are very, very smart, and they just kept reeling those off. And the glamping one, I think, was probably my personal favorite.
Yeah, that one was pretty funny. He's back, though, better than ever.
Yes, sir.
Glad you had a good Thanksgiving week with your friends and family. Zach Wolchuk, of course, fresh off the Cowboys win. You're feeling pretty good.
Of course.
And you worked an overnight last night, but you're still here anyways.
Of course, I wouldn't miss this for the world, man.
Of
It's
course.
the regional semis. We got some awesome matchups tonight, matchups tomorrow. We had a great game here at the Star last night.
Yes, we did.
That's what it's all about.
You never miss a playoff show. You know, I mean, that's
No.
the thing. Like when you're
Never.
part of Friday Night Stars and the playoffs get here, you just don't miss a playoff show, and that's why Walchuk is just absolutely grinding in
Clutch.
the overnights, baby.
Did you guys
Always.
practice that high five?
Huh? Oh yeah. Well,
We don't have to practice.
Yeah,
it's
just
an instant
It's just
connection.
instant.
We were
Okay.
born with this glue.
And then Mr. Eric Chiafalo rocking the man bun as always. And,
yeah, of course.
And I'm probably more excited about the Cowboys win than anybody as a Miami Dolphins fan, right?
Well, I think Zach just showed us
Yeah,
here
okay.
who's the most
I
excited.
just wanted to make sure. But glad you're all with us here for Whataburger Friday Night Stars, whether you're watching on Vimeo, Facebook, Twitter, or on YouTube. But we've got plenty of Texas high school football matchups to get in. Guys, it's the regional semifinals after tonight, or actually after tomorrow night, rather. We'll be halfway through the Texas high school football playoffs.
Unbelievable.
Pretty ridiculous to think about. And teams looking at it tonight, there are going to be a lot of teams that go home, but there are going to be in each area, each division, there will be 8 teams left. We'll be down to the Elite 8 of each level, 6A Division 1, Division 2, so on and so forth. So lots to get to. Let's start things off with 6A Division 1. And this is an interesting division because there are a lot of teams around the area still in it in this region, and really it's because there are a lot of teams that started in this region here, but the best of the best have now made it to that third round, the elusive regional semifinal. Let's start things off with looking at 6A Division 1, Region 1. And really, this is one of the best regions in the entire state. This is a look from last week going into this week. Of course, Franklin and Trinity. Trinity with a big-time win, 44-28. Very impressive win over Franklin last week, but I don't know if it was anywhere close to as impressive as South Lake Carroll's dominance of DeSoto. So those two teams meet up. That game tonight at Apogee Stadium. We've got not one but 2 reporters at that game because it's that monumental of a matchup. Mallory Hartley and Ashley Pickle will be live from Denton, as we've got 2 of the best reporters that we've got on that game. We've got incredible reporters all over the place. Don't sell me, or I'm not going to sell them short.
Specifically those two.
Specifically those two are at that game, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Now you look at the bottom of that bracket. Arlington Lamar with a good win over Odessa Permian. That game a lot closer than the 14 points that it looks like there, because that was a 35-35 game with about 5 minutes left in that fourth quarter, where Arlington Lamar was able to score and then force a turnover and score again. And then the Duncanville game, that was never close, because the Panthers flexed the muscles, and the defense that is absolutely unbelievable showed out against a very good Louisville Fighting Farmers squad who we had talked about all season long, and they just got dismantled by Duncanville. Is this, guys, and this is my first question really to open things up here on the regional semifinal show, but is this by far the best region in all of Texas?
It's got to be one of the best. In terms of area teams, no doubt. I mean, those are 4 stacked area teams right there, and both of those matchups are absolutely sensational coming in here for the regional semifinal. So I'm excited. Anytime you get Trinity and South Lake Carroll, and everyone talks about that 2006 match, which I think 65,000 people at Texas Stadium attended. And what's crazy is Riley Dodge was the quarterback of that South Lake Carroll team. He's now the head coach there now. And he had the game-winning touchdown run. I think Carroll won that game 22-21, if I'm not mistaken. He was a one-pointer. Trinity's offensive coordinator is now the head coach. So 2 of the coaches for both teams were there in that 2006 meeting. These are teams that used to play regularly in the regular season. They've matched up several times in the playoffs. So, you know, anytime you get Trinity and South Lake Carroll, it's always fun.
And that's one of the big things, is not only is there that historic mindset behind this matchup, but these are 2 teams that are familiar with each other. They've met every year in the playoffs since 2013. So there's a chance for a little bit of revenge on one side or the other. But is it just different this year, the way that things have kind of panned out? An undefeated South Lake Carroll, a team in Euless Trinity that looks like a state championship team. Their only blemish is to another team that looks like they could win a state championship in Haltom in that district. This is a matchup that could be an instant classic from Apogee Stadium, guys.
Yeah, no, I absolutely expect it to be that. But all season long, we've talked about South Lake has been a little bit under the radar, even though they've been undefeated and incredibly consistent. They, for some reason, have just kind of floated around, and I think that's exactly how they like it, where no one's really talking about them too much. You wake up and they're in the playoffs, and these guys are undefeated. They're dominating DeSoto, and they're one of the most well-balanced teams offensively and defensively in the area. And then you look across to Trinity. Trinity, same deal. They don't have it's not the showy, the undefeated Trinity teams, the ballyhoo teams that everybody just goes crazy for, but they've still been incredibly good. And that running game is still, you know, top notch. I don't know if Brandon Theus is playing in this game, and we talked about it last week. Without him, it's going to be a huge loss for Trinity. But I think that's really the thing. Both of these teams have kind of flown under the radar this year, and then boom, they match up in this game, and everybody just can't wait for it. There's been 1 loss total between both of these teams, and you look at it, they're pretty evenly matched when you look at the stats with their defense, their offense, the points, the yards, everything. But even though they play a little differently, obviously with Trinity doing what they do with the ground and pound there. So I don't know. I think both of these teams have just kind of flown under the radar all year long.
I think that's the difference, though, for me. This South Lake Carroll team, everybody kind of just assumes, well, they spread and they throw the football.
Yeah.
This year's version of South Lake Carroll is a ground and pound team. They're led by TJ McDaniel running the football and Will Bowers at quarterback running the football. It's not to say that Will Bowers can't throw. He certainly can, and they've got weapons with R.J. Mickens out there as well, who plays all over the field, special teams, offense, defense. But to me, this is a South Lake Carroll team that is much like the Trinity teams of old. They're going to line up, they're going to run the football and smack you in the mouth. And the Trinity side of things, they are very one-dimensional. They might be more one-dimensional than they've ever been, with a major lack in being able to push the ball down the field through the passing game.
Well, I will tell you guys this. You know, we're using words like under the radar and quiet and Trinity in the same sentence, and it just doesn't go together. When you say, you know, Trinity, Euless Trinity, again, when they lost to Haltom, I believe it was week 6 of the season, everyone just jumped off the bandwagon. They thought that these guys were done, not going to do anything. I mean, and it wasn't as though Haltom ran away in that victory, but all they did was got back to business and just start bludgeoning opponents like they had been doing before. And you're looking at a 11-1 Euless Trinity team going into this. Now, the one thing that I am looking for when it comes down to the South Lake Carroll Dragons is their running game. It's going to have to be TJ McDaniels that they ride to beat Euless Trinity, because Euless Trinity is going to be stacking everything that they do. They're going to shut something off, and it's got to be their passing game, and just pin their ears back and come out to TJ McDaniels. That's going to be the only strategy that they're going to have in order to win this game today.
And one of the big things that you look at going into this game is not only the way that these two teams stack up in terms of the game planning and the running ability for both sides, because both teams can run the football very well, but the weather might play a little bit of an impact.
That's a good point, yeah.
And we talked a little bit off air, Eric and I did, about the fact of TJ McDaniel, he's going to get his share. He's going to run the football well. But the fact that they also have Bowers that can throw the football on the Southlake side of things, it gives them a little bit more of an advantage. But with the weather, that advantage might be taken away a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, certainly that's going to play a factor in the game. Now, weather's been a factor in plenty games this year. So at least these teams are somewhat used to it. But I think that makes the running game that much more important. And I think with Southlake can at least show some damage through the air, whether the weather's bad or not. I don't know if Trinity can say the same. And that Southlake defense, we saw what they did to Coppell. Coppell likes to run the ball. They had negative 30 yards in the first round of the playoffs.
And that's what I meant. And that's what I meant. When it comes down to it, Southlake is going to go back to what they do well. That's TJ McDaniels and run the ball. And the Euless Trinity knows that. I don't know how much weather is going to play a factor in this game, simply because they both have such great running games. Now, you said about Theus being out. If that's the case, then obviously that makes a difference in it. But I think that Lakai Ellis does do a good job on the ground, and they have a few co-stars there.
Yeah,
for the
AJ Barnett's really good as well. He stepped in, and they didn't miss a beat with Brandon. Theus is a monster, game-changing type running back, but AJ Barnett's very capable as well. Heckman's 100% right on that.
Yeah, I think there are multiple ways that either one of these teams could win this football game. Now, this will be a pick'em game later on, and it'll be a lot of fun. But I think the general consensus around the area is that Southlake should take care of Euless Trinity.
I think it's fair. I mean, I don't know that you could say that any team's been more impressive through the first couple playoff games than Southlake Carroll, with the way that they were able to win both of those games with ease against big-name area schools in Coppell and DeSoto.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. And you see the big-time wins with the big-name schools. But Trinity, on the other hand,
different.
I think they're just built a little bit different. Yeah. And I think there's a way that Trinity could win this football game, and I'll make my pick later. But with that being said, I don't think, even with the general consensus being that Southlake is going to win this football game, there's no way you could count the Trojans out by any means. And I think this is going to be a magnificent football game. Let's look on the other side of that bracket. We mentioned that Arlington Lamar, and another team that we've talked about quite a bit throughout the Texas high school football playoffs. How about the one that's also, along with Southlake Carroll, just been absolutely impressive over big-name teams? Defeated Louisville 38-0, defeated South Grand Prairie. How about them Duncanville Panthers, 11-0, 4 points per game allowed, but look on the other side. That Lamar team has a good defense as well, and they can put up some points. So, my question to you on this game, is this going to be a defensive battle, or are we going to see some points here? Because I don't know either way. Both teams have a high-powered offense. Both teams have a very, very good defense. And I think if it's a defensive football game, it favors Duncanville. I think if it's the other way around, I think it might even favor Lamar a little bit.
Yeah, we have to be fair, right? Don't we have to be fair? We have to talk objectively about both teams.
There's no rule book here.
Do whatever you want.
Go out.
Jaquindon Jackson, my man. I mean,
right.
let's stop it. Stop
Very
playing.
Good point.
I mean, the Duffel Bag Boy defense has done it all year long. I mean, they are bludgeoning. They're killing people. I don't even know why we're talking about this as though this game is going to even be competitive. Now, hey, as I say that, foot it always inserts in mouth. And
I don't think so, though, because, look, we know and everybody's talked about how good Duncanville's defense has been. They have been sensational. They're the number one scoring defense in 6A football. But what's underappreciated is their offense, led by Jaquindon Jackson. You see right there, averaging 53 points a game. That's the number 3 ranked scoring offense in 6A. So for Duncanville, as much glory and praise as this defense wants to get, it's not that offense can't score points. And Lamar comes in with an extremely balanced attack. I wouldn't be surprised if there are some fireworks in this one, but nobody has had success for 4 quarters against that Panther D. They are on another level. They might be one of the most physical and nasty units in the entire state.
Yeah, and that's why Arlington is going to be probably in a world of trouble by the time you get to the fourth quarter. But don't forget that Jack Dawson, one of our favorite guys around here, 2,500 passing yards, almost 40 touchdowns.
He has a great name.
He's got an incredible name.
And he had a great game last week.
He had a great game last week. He's had a great season. 49 points a game is no fluke. 444 yards a game is no fluke. The problem is Duncanville is, like you guys said, just on another level. And unless they come out here and just lay an egg, that's what it's going to take. Because when Duncanville's at their best, they're maybe the best team in the state, if not for sure top three.
Let me say it like this. And when you watch Duncanville and you watch the huddle, you watch them on YouTube, wherever you watch them, you see that they bring a physicalness to their ball, what they do, the way that they block, the way that they take on tackle. When they get to the guy is on the ground. There's no yards after catch, any of that stuff. And so it's different, when you see the physical nature and the way that they play, the way they take this on. And they have a bunch of whistle-to-whistle guys, is what I call an offensive line. And I'm telling you, I would love to see what the preparation throughout the week is like when you see that number one defense versus the number one offense. Guys, their practices are probably world class.
No doubt.
So that's why I'm saying when Lamar, although Jack Dawson has done some wonderful things, running back Smith has done some wonderful things, will they be able to match that Panther intensity is the question that's going to get answered tonight.
And those running games do also deserve a lot of love because we talk a lot about
yes, sir.
Mr. Dawson.
Yeah.
Jordan Williams is a boss at running back, and that's the key for Lamar. I think Duncanville knows, hey, we don't want Lamar to be able to beat us vertically with Jack Dawson passing. If they can somehow get the run game going effectively with Jordan Williams, I think that will give them more of an opportunity to upset Duncanville, who is the favorite in this one. And for Duncanville, we talk about Jaquindon Jackson, but Tristan Smith, who you just brought up in the backfield, had 3 touchdowns in their win last week. He is a difference maker as well in this offense for the Panthers.
Here's the thing that I was surprised this morning. I had a conversation with Doug Anderson, who's the voice of TXA 21's Game of the Week. He'll be on the call tonight for Trinity and South Lake Carroll. And I asked him a question about Duncanville. I said, hey, how good is this Duncanville defense? Where do they rank in terms of teams in Texas? And he said he puts them right up there, especially with the style of play nowadays in high school football and the way that they've dominated. He put them right up there with the 1983 Dangerfield Tigers. And I know that's a lot. We're a little bit young on our side of things. Heckma, I don't know if you were that intertwined.
I have no idea.
You don't have any idea. Well, they outscored opponents 631-8 over the entire season, winning the 3A state title and going 16-0.
My goodness.
And the fact that Doug Anderson said he compares them to that team, that's high praise.
Did they win state?
Prezzers. They did win state. 16-0. They won their 3A state title.
Nothing's stopping our Allen-Duncanville matchup, by the way. Nothing is coming in between that.
What about Waco Midway?
Roadkill.
Okay, that's probably true.
Duncanville plus 531 point differential on the season for Duncanville. They've just
not that far off from that
638.
It's 631-8. It really has been incredible to see how Duncanville has played this year. And like you said, they've just been steamrolling teams. It hasn't really been close. 14 points by South Grand Prairie is really the most success anybody has ever had against the Duncanville Panthers. Let's go down to 6A Division I Region 2. Speaking of the Allen Eagles, they've got a matchup tonight, or tomorrow actually, down in Waco McLean Stadium with the Woodlands. They, of course, got in that boat race with Allen in Rockwall last week. That was a classic of a football game where at one point in that fourth quarter, Rockwall had the ball down by 5 and a chance to take the lead whenever they were trailing 45-40. But Allen Eagles and Coach Terry Gamble get the job done. There on the other side, the Woodlands and Cedar Ridge, they had a classic of their own where the Woodlands move on. And then you've got Saxe, who was taking care of Waco Midway, a very surprising result there. Even as a Waco Midway alum and myself, I did not expect Midway to put 56 points up on that Saxe defense, who I learned later had 3 starters suspended for the first half of the game. So they had a little bit of a different look there, and they'll face Klein Oak at Kyle Field tomorrow as well. But, guys, looking with that Allen and the Woodlands matchup, Zach, I know you mentioned this last week, but the Woodlands, one of the last teams, or the last team to defeat the Allen Eagles in the playoffs. What do you think about this matchup?
Yeah, look, the Woodlands, these are 2 teams that over the last few, really 15 years have been outstanding. This is the 24th straight playoff appearance for the Woodlands. They won District 15 6A. We know about that win last week against Cedar Ridge. It was Fabrizio Pinton who hit a 55-yard game winner as time expired. 55 yards to win it at the
almost
buzzer.
Caden Davis.
Almost Caden Davis-like. And look, right now, Jim Rapp, the head coach for the Woodlands, feels that this Highlander team is playing their best football of the season, and they are the last team to beat Allen back in the 2016 state semifinal, 36-28. So this is a Woodlands team that can put up some points. You see there, about 37.4 points per game. But this is their first road playoff game that they've had to play in quite some time, because they opened up the playoffs this year with both games coming at home. And last year, look, they got knocked out in the area round of the playoffs. They didn't really get to advance far enough to go ahead and play some road games. So you wonder a little bit about the travel there and how that might impact this Woodlands team. But Allen, they just got ranked nationally as the #1 team in the country. And we've talked all year about how good this Allen team is. And for the Woodlands, I just don't know, even though they do have quite a lot of talent on offense, and their defense is no slouch either. But when you talk about Grant Tisdale and Theo Weiss and Keldon Manning and that beast of an offensive line and a defensive line led by Jaden Jernigan. I mean, that Allen defense, we talk so much about the offense. That Allen defense is pretty darn good too.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And we tend to kind of forget about them, but they are playing some phenomenal football. So, look, I mean, this is going to be a game where Allen, they don't lose to a team twice. I think the last time they did was to Euless Trinity in the early 2011 range. It doesn't happen. They're fully aware that the Woodlands knocked them out a couple years ago. I think they're going to exact some revenge in this game.
I tell you what, guys, I love the fact that we handle all of our North Texas teams. And so we know the rosters, we know the coaches, and so the exciting thing about the playoffs is that you get an opportunity to start looking at film on other teams, and you realize that, hey, they have the Allen equivalent in West Texas, so the Allen equivalent in South Texas. And the Woodland is one of those teams that are great. They have a history, 24 back-to-back playoff appearances. However, it comes down to what we know. Allen is just that team that is that much more dominant on paper and in person. And so it's the same thing is going to apply for the Woodlands. Are they going to be starstruck? Are they going to be able to not even so much match the intensity, but the speed of the Allen Eagles? And I think that's what makes the biggest difference when teams actually see them live.
Yeah, Rockwall was able to really hang with Allen last week and got out early, put up points on the opening drive of the game. The Woodlands is obviously going to need to be doing that. Now, they've scored, I know you mentioned they score about 38 points a game for the season. The last 3 games, they've put up at least 50 points or more. So their offense is really clicking. I know you mentioned their head coach said that he thinks they're playing their best football of the season right now. Well, that's fantastic. That's exactly what they're going to need. They're going to need the best performance of their season tonight against this Allen team. But I think we all felt a little bit of relief last week when Rockwall made that a game against Allen. Everybody says, okay, maybe there is a team out there. I know we talk about Duncanville's probably going to be that team, but the Woodlands is absolutely no slouch. You mentioned their defense, but 50 points a game over the last 3 games, they can hang a little bit. I just think Allen, you mentioned, if Allen comes into a game with revenge on their mind, they have a chip on their shoulder. That rarely happens. Everybody's always getting up to play Allen. If Allen's got an extra reason to get up, that makes it even more scary. I just hope we can get another competitive outing and Allen has to play 4 quarters of football because they haven't been forced to do that much this year.
Yeah, they haven't been able to really. I think the Allen game or the Allen Rockwall game might have been the first time
where they were really tested for 4 quarters, no question.
And the Woodlands has a much better defense, in my opinion, than Rockwall does. But I don't think they've got the explosive firepower as Rockwall. They certainly don't have the quarterback receiver tandem that they did when they knocked off Allen in 2016. They rely more on a spread, balanced offensive approach. They have an outstanding running back who can get the job done. Brighton Guilford, I believe his name was, had a great game last week. So it's a variety of guys for the Woodlands, which is a good thing. It's not that Allen can focus and key on one player here. That's a good option for the Highlanders, but their defense is really going to have to come to play, and nobody's had an answer to slow down Allen for 4 quarters.
Yeah, by no means, and I don't know if that will come this week. I don't know if the Woodlands will have that issue. I mean, they might have a chance to do so, but we'll see how that ends up happening. But looking at this game that would be the next matchup, you mentioned this earlier. Because of the playoffs, we get to look at some of those outside teams. Neither one of these teams are in North Texas, but both teams are definitely relevant to the Allen Eagles, and that's Waco Midway and Klein Oak. We talked about Waco Midway at length last week because they ended up facing the Saxe Mustangs, and like I talked about earlier, Saxe had 3 defensive starters that were out. But Midway, a team with James Fulbright at the helm in terms of the tailback position, they are able to put up some points and have kind of figured some things out with former Mansfield head coach Jeff Hume. Also, a little bit of a cool statement is the fact that Terry Gamble, who's the head coach of the Allen Eagles,
That's right.
he was from Waco Midway. He went from Allen to Midway to become the head coach, and then back to Allen to be the head coach at the Allen Eagles. But on the other side, Klein Oak and the Panthers, after a close game last week, these two teams very, very defensive-minded. I don't expect a high-scoring game here. We don't have the stats up there, at least as of yet. But with that being said, this should be a classic game defensively from Kyle Field. Tomorrow, I believe this game kicks off at 3. So it should be a lot of fun between these two teams. Winner, of course, plays the winner of Allen and the Woodlands. But with that being said, that is Division 1, Region 1, and Region 2. Let's look at the bracket overall as we move into that regional semifinal, then regional final look, and give really your overall thoughts, guys, of this 6A division, really Region 1 and Region 2, because depending on how these games turn out, we're going to have some all-time great matchups next week, whether it be Trinity and Southlake, whoever moves out of there, Lamar, Duncanville, and then so on and so forth from there.
Yeah, I think I've looked ahead at a Duncanville Southlake Carroll potential meeting. Obviously, whoever comes out, if it's Trinity, if it's Lamar, all 4 of those teams are quality teams. Whatever scenario matchups there are would all be enticing. So, look, we talked about that region maybe being the best region in the state left right now. I think certainly as far as area teams go, as far as our interest goes in the DFW, it probably is. But there are some other regions that I think are very, very competitive as well.
Yeah, in terms of competition-wise, I mean, they're all super competitive, but this is the cream of the crop. And like you mentioned, it makes it even better and sweeter that it's all area teams in this region right now duking it out for who's going to be the best. And looking ahead, if you happen to look ahead here and notice a Carroll and Duncanville matchup on the horizon, I think that's the one that gets me most excited. When I just think about who are the best teams here, Southlake and Duncanville should each win the game that they have at hand this week. And next week sets up for just a massive battle between two incredible teams, and then obviously you get the big one against Allen. So this is the cream of the crop, and because it's our area, it just makes it that much sweeter.
Yeah, well, when you were breaking down the different brackets and you're looking at potential matchups, and I saw the district, the way that Allen's played out, because I didn't know some of those other teams in that bracket, I kind of figured that they were getting off easier not being in that division with Southlake.
Yeah, a little bit.
And so it's like, all right, you just go give them the highway to the state championship, but not so much, because again, you start to figure out that some of these teams are pretty good. But it's obvious, okay, that this Southlake Carroll, Duncanville, Euless Trinity, Duncanville. You get what I'm going on this? Duncanville. But again, when it comes down to Waco Midway, that played a great game, regardless of who was suspended or not. They put it on.
They did.
Saxon.
And really, they're a team that went to the state title a year ago. Certainly, a Waco Midway Allen type matchup would be on paper a very enticing meeting as well.
Also, not to mention the coaching standpoint, because Jeff Hume
a lot of
from
familiarity.
Dallas Fort Worth, and then Terry
Some
Gamble.
tasty storylines there, no doubt.
A little bit, definitely to be sure. I'd be a nervous wreck next week with Allen and Midway. Not really. I would probably know how that
Well,
one.
welcome to my world, brother.
Oh, Plano, the Plano Wildcats. How we miss them. Let's talk about 6A Division 2 on the other side of the break. We're going to take a quick break. We're live from the Star in Frisco. Whataburger Friday Night Stars. Oh, it's the regional semifinals, and it's a lot of fun. This is the pregame show leading you up to kickoff of some of the 7 o'clock games, but we'll preview 6A Division 2 coming up next. We're Whataburger Friday Night Stars. We'll be back in a moment.
Today at Whataburger, we're cooking the sweet and spicy bacon burger.
The sweet and spicy bacon burger is my all-time favorite.
I love this burger. It's just perfect.
2 beef patties, 2 different types of cheese, caramelized onions. My favorite thing about this burger is the sweet and spicy pepper sauce and the bacon. You get it in every bite.
Nothing beats this.
The sweet and spicy bacon burger is an all-time favorite at Whataburger.
That's happiness.
little ideas can turn into big dreams. Big dreams require careful planning and the right partner. A partner dedicated to helping you take care of your employees, protect your business, and plan for the future. It's sometimes overwhelming. It's often exciting. It's your story, and we can help. SWBC.
You want to bring the heat? Prove it. With carbs to help fuel muscles. And electrolytes to help replace what you lose in sweat. Studied, tested, proven. Nothing beats Gatorade.
On a Forbidden Fansville by Dr. Pepper.
Ramon, we can't.
But Julia,
We're rivals.
I can love you and still hate your overrated school.
We have two different defensive philosophies. You're a base 4-3 cover 2, and I'm an
aggressive 3-4 with press coverage. I get it, but we both love Dr. Pepper.
Oh, Ramon.
Touchdown, State!
Yes! In your face!
Dr. Pepper, the official drink of Fansville.
Hey football fans, check this out. It's called Fan Tag, the easiest way to get video highlights from all of your games. As a parent, I know the value of capturing our kids' special moments on video. Fan Tag makes it easy to relive a memory or share it with family, friends, and recruiters. Download the Fan Tag app, and on game day, find your event and get instant highlights delivered right to your phone. So never miss a moment. Try Fan Tag today. It's free.
This is Academy Sports and Outdoors. We offer a huge sports and outdoors selection of top name brand gear like you've never seen. All at low prices like you've never seen. Because we're a sports and outdoor store like you've never seen. Visit us in store or at academy.com for the guaranteed lowest prices. Academy Sports and Outdoors, for all for less.
Welcome back to Whataburger Friday Night Stars, live from the Star in Frisco, Texas. High school football is back with a regional semifinal round, and we are back here from the Star. Glad you're with us, whether you're watching on Vimeo, Facebook, YouTube, or on Twitter. Glad you're watching. Do want to give a quick shout out to Bob Lilly Promotions, making us look great this week as always with the polos and the jackets, and being able to kind of turn some things around as we got a tour group coming behind me. Gotta love that. But yeah,
you come watch us live.
You could really come
just
watch
the pre-show
us live.
probably from 5 to 7.
Yep,
if you're interested.
I actually had a lot of the people that were on the tour come and let me know that they loved our shirts.
They did.
They were like,
really?
"Oh my God,
Hey,
you
can we
guys
buy
look
some
incredible.
shirts?
Like,
I
where
don't
do
know.
you
We
get
might
those?"
make that a thing.
They were
So
wondering.
sweet.
They thought it was at the team shop. I said, "No, I'm sorry. This is Friday Night Stars. Maybe I can hook you up. I'll talk to my boy,
I'll talk to Mr.
Bob
Lilly. We'll see.
We'll see. If you follow us on Facebook and on Instagram, we'll figure something out. But Glad you're with us here for the regional semifinal
Just
show.
a care package.
We will be back at 9 o'clock. We're going to go up until 7, wait for quick kickoff, wait for some of those games to kind of hurry it up, and then we'll be back at 9 o'clock to give you the final scores and then also get you set for the Saturday games that come up tomorrow. But right now, let's go through the Division II ranks of 6A, starting with 6A Division II Region number 1. And we've got some dogs in this region, talking about Haltom and Hebron. Hebron, a little bit of a surprise team. Now, they didn't have to face Cedar Hill. They did not have to really go through the Longhorns, even though J.J. Pierce was the team that knocked off Cedar Hill. So a tough matchup there, but they really kind of took care of business, controlled that game from the get-go. Haltom, on the other hand, had a very, very tough first-round matchup against Arlington Bowie, and they were able to kind of go through that and ride some momentum against a good Midland Lee team last week. So those two teams, we'll talk about that here in a moment. And then also Amarillo Tascosa and Mansfield Lake Ridge, both with tight wins but convincing wins. Arlington and the Colts, Jahari Rogers' season comes to an end. He's a Landry Award finalist that we will not see this week. But on the other side, you got Mansfield Lake Ridge with an impressive win over a streaking
triple overtime. Probably the game of last week.
Right.
Man.
Absolutely incredible game last week. And we'll talk about both of those games. But let's start with Haltom and Hebron. And this is a game where you look at it for both of these teams. I mentioned Hebron being really one of the surprise teams. But in terms of individuals on either side, I don't know if I've seen a matchup this year with more impact individual players than Michael Black for Hebron and then Bridges for Michael Black for Haltom, rather.
Yes.
And then Bridges for
We know where you
Hebron.
were going with that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, well, I'm going to tell you, man, it's Mike Black all day. We've made him a star on Friday Night Stars. We have. All right.
Well, he is a star.
He is a star. But we made him a star. Come on, let's admit it.
No, we made him a star. Of course we did.
Of course we did.
Friday Night Stars, Michael Black show, baby.
Well, Michael Black is a full-fledged dog, man. He has single-handedly helped the Buffaloes to their record.
I don't know about single-handedly.
He has been
He is the heart and soul of that team. There's no doubt about
large
that.
part of it. And when I say that when you go to a Haltom game and you watch the type of leadership ability that this kid has, you realize that he is the juice for the Buffaloes, and he's just been playing outstanding. Now, look, the Buffaloes also have a great defense, a good enough defense that has led them to this point. I won't use the word great because, guys, I'm telling you, they have a surprise guest tonight.
Oh, who's that?
My man, Trajan Bridges.
Trajan.
Ring the doorbell. Ding dong. His Bridges showing up for dinner tonight.
Yeah, he's showing up with about 4 touchdowns.
Boy.
You don't know how he's going to get them. Is it through the
Is it
air,
rushing?
on the ground? Is it returning? I mean, good gosh.
Is he picking it off?
And so they're not having dinner tonight. They're having lunch tomorrow at Applegee Stadium. But look, it's going to be
a great place to have lunch.
Good place to have lunch. One of the things, and you look at when it comes down to Hebron, just being fair. Look, Trajan Bridges is outstanding. Kid has all-world Oklahoma commit, but can you get him the ball? Carson Harris is going to junior quarterback Carson Harris, and they've had a quarterback by committee a little bit.
Man, I think Carson Harris took over last week. There's no way he's giving up that job now.
Baby.
But he's got to do it again.
Yeah.
He's got to do it again.
He had his best game of the year, no doubt. Can he carry that over? He's going to need it against Haltom.
Because you're going to have to match the big playability of the Buffaloes with Michael Black.
And a guy like Trajan Bridges is the perfect guy to do that. When you look at what he did even just last week, 5 receptions isn't unbelievable, but he had 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. It's what do you do with him? He only touched the ball 5 times, and I know he's a guy, you want to find any way to get the ball in his hands. You want to give him the ball freaking 50 times if you can. But last week, he catches the ball 5 times, still goes for 100 yards, 2 scores. This dude can figure it out. Hebron's been an interesting team because their record's not great. They've been a little up and down, but all their games have been close. It's not like they've really gotten blown out. I think they got blown out one time by Martin or Lamar. One of the Arling teams, I think, blew them out early in the season. But for the most part, they've been in every game, even the ones that they've lost. They've been a tough out every single time. And when Hebron comes to play like they did last week, 57 points, holy smokes, this Hebron team's they wow you. And so if they show up that way and Carson Harris has one of those games like he had last week, 6 total touchdowns, then this could end up being one of those high-flying offensive games that, one for the ages kind of deal when you just think about the how good of a players and athletes are on the field for this game at premium positions.
Yeah, and Hebron came out of a really tough district. I mean, able to get that 4th spot out of District 6-6A. We look at their record, but I don't think that's an indication of really their football team. Clearly they've gone on a run here. They definitely caught a break with J.J. Pierce upsetting Cedar Hill.
Yep.
I think most people would all say any given Friday night, anything can happen. But if Cedar Hill and J.J. Pierce play 10 times, Cedar Hill's probably winning 8 out of the 10. And so that was the one night J.J. Pierce, they had the magic stuff. They brought it to the table. So
Unbelievable.
Hebron lucked out not having to play the Longhorns, but they've looked great. They've taken care of business. We talked about Carson Harris, and certainly Trajan Bridges might be the best all-around player in the area, and we've got a bunch of studs around here.
Yeah, there's a lot of players, and you kind of mentioned this previously and said, hey, a lot of those guys are going to OU. OU's doing a great job of recruiting the area and being able to kind of look at some of those dogs from throughout the area and being able to utilize them to add to their recruiting. But is this a game with the weather and the way that it could kind of potentially play a factor in it? Is this a game that you look at and see both sides? Of course, Michael Black, quarterback, and then Bridges, a wide receiver, that passing game might affect some things a little bit?
I don't see it, and the reason why I don't is because the running game of Haltom it travels, and their defense and everything that they bring is going to be there. The one thing that makes this so intriguing is the fact that the Buffaloes haven't seen the kind of talent that Trajan Bridges is going to bring to the field. I mean, I think they've seen some teams in their district that can run the ball for sure.
Trinity, no doubt.
Exactly,
and San Angelo Central is a really good offensive team.
Exactly, and so. From that standpoint, they're dynamic in what they do up front and stopping the run. But Trajan Bridges is going to bring he's so rangy and so fast. And that 50-50 ball, 50% of the time is his.
And there's that freshman Isaiah Broadway, an electrifying playmaker. And Haltom's got Kenneth Cormier Jr., who's also an outstanding runner. So I think both these teams, they're set up despite the weather. They can both still run the football and get big plays out of their running game. And I think both are pretty even in terms of the passing game because of the talent that Trajan Bridges is. But Michael Black's done an excellent job of spreading around. He's got some weapons on the outside there at Haltom. They're a very balanced offense.
And don't forget Haltom, Arlington Bowie gave them a run for their money in round one.
And they jumped out early.
They did.
They jumped out early on them. So I think that's another key for Hebron. Now, Haltom weathered the storm. They rallied back. They won that football game, showed a lot of good mental toughness. But for Hebron, if they can jump out early like they have their first 2 playoff games, they're a team that's very comfortable playing from ahead.
And then looking at the other side of that Region 1 bracket, then you've got Mansfield, Lake Ridge, along with Amarillo, Tascosa here. And Tascosa, a team last week that took down Arlington in a Colts team that we thought would really have a good chance to make a run up until this Lake Ridge game and see maybe even a chance if they could defeat Lake Ridge. But now Lake Ridge, who's kind of firing on all cylinders, is there a chance here for Amarillo and Tascosa to kind of get the job done here as well, or is Lake Ridge almost about to punch their ticket to that next round?
This is an even game.
You think so?
When you look at, I think all of us thought Arlington would probably beat Tascosa last week, and they came out and played excellent football, and they're holding it down for West Texas, man. Amarillo Tascosa's the last West Texas team remaining in 6A, so everybody's looking at them like, guys, we got to keep this party rolling. They are a run option offense, and that's something that's different to what Lake Ridge has seen. Obviously, coming out of the District of Doom, Lake Ridge is very battle-tested. They're not going to see anything talent-wise from Tascosa that's any different level than what they've already played. But the style of which Amarillo Tascosa plays is different to what Lake Ridge has seen all year. And last week, I think the key to beating Arlington for them was they scored 21 points in the opening quarter. I mean, we talk a lot about these teams coming out. If you want to beat a team that might be better than you talent-wise, come out, score early. They've got an excellent running back in King Dory, who's one of the best all-around athletes in the state. He can do it receiving. He can do it rushing. And their quarterback, Joseph Plunk, is also a running type of quarterback. But for Lake Ridge, it all starts and finishes with our man, Chandler Rogers, and what they did last week in an epic war with Denton Geyer going down to triple overtime. They make the game-winning stop on Eli Stowers at the end. This is a Lake Ridge team. They've literally been in just about every position you can be in at this point in the football season. I think Lake Ridge is well on their way to making a very, very legendary run in Lake Ridge history, making that jump up. I mean, people forget. It's a 5A football team. They are only the 3rd team since 2010 to advance this deep into the playoffs from moving up a classification. So an outstanding season already for Lake Ridge, but they have what it takes to move on to that regional final.
And real quick, guys, I just love that game that they were in last week with Geyer, the slugfest. You know, they had to come up with a lot of plays to stop our guy, Keedrick Cobbs, and that's where I kind of lean towards Lake Ridge simply because I know if we get into if Tascosa brings anything physical, Lake Ridge is going to be there for it. But I just love this team. For some reason, just the way they are battle tested in that game last week, I just thought that, man, that's going to be the one game that's going to propel them to further in the playoffs.
I think another thing that was interesting in that game last week, Lake Ridge went for several onside kicks. They went for it on 4th down. It was almost like they knew we've got to keep possession. It was almost kind of a similar, and I know Kyle didn't want to bring up the Cowboys again, but a similar style of play that the Cowboys want to do is limit the amount of snaps for their defense. They want to control possession right of the game. That's kind of the attitude that Lake Ridge went in last week. They wanted to keep Dyer's offense off the football field and try and shorten snaps for their defense so that they were fresh in that third overtime. And according to Coach Thor, he thinks that saved them about 20 snaps, being aggressive. So that's something I'm sure Tascosa saw on tape. Will they come out with a similar game plan in this one? It'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see, and I like what you said about Lake Ridge and the fact that they jumped the gun or jumped the division, and they're already seeing some success, and it shows the credit of how that Lake Ridge program has been built. But moving on to a program that a lot of people think have a chance to win not a national championship, but a state championship this season is Longview, and they are running up against the Vandergrift Vipers out of the Austin area. Longview, of course, a big-time team, 12-0. Oh, look, Vandergrift's also 12-0. Eric, I know you've been on the pulse of this game because you were almost giddy about it in that commercial break about talking about this game. What are some of the points that you look at for this one?
No, I'm certainly excited about it, and I think this is the mascot matchup of the week, the Lobos versus the Vipers. I think that's incredible. The Vipers is a great mascot. We've shown love to the Lobos all year, and Longview is, man, they're one of those really, really next level, just through and through awesome teams, both sides of the ball. Their offense is what really gets the love, but it's a strength-on-strength matchup in this game because Vandergrift's defense is pretty stellar. They only give up less than 14 points a game. They got 2 linebackers that are studs. One of them's going to Army, Spencer Jones. This dude's 220 pounds. He's a thumper in there, man. He's a good player. Their 2 safeties are really, really good, and their defense has forced 23 turnovers this year. I mean, they are a stingy. Yeah,
that's crazy.
They are all over the place. And now the thing is, they've played some close games. They're 12-0, so props to them for that. But 5 of their 12 games were decided by 9 points or less. Longview averages all their wins are by 36 points on average. I mean, so Longview just dominates people, and their offense is fantastic. When you look at it, 51 points a game. They're coming off their 4th highest rushing outing of the season with 298 yards. They got 3 guys with 600 or more rushing yards, but they got the 2. It's Kalen Williams and Jesse Anderson. Anderson is the 225-pound bowling ball guy. He's got 18 touchdowns. Goal line, just going to grind it out. But the workhorse is the little man, 5'5", 150 pounds, Mr. Keelan Williams. This dude, 1,100 yards, 10 touchdowns. These guys are really, really good, and I haven't even gotten to the quarterback, Mr. Haynes King. Oh, my goodness. He had a huge week, by the way. Coming off their victory last week, he got 3 offers from football teams in college. TCU, Missouri, and Minnesota all offered him this week. Wow. So he's had a fantastic, not only season, but it's been a great week for Mr. King. 2,800 yards, 35 touchdowns, 68% completion percentage, and 20 yards per completion. The dude pushes the ball down the field in 1 interception. Now, those are all incredible stats, but the best one that I found about this Longview team that really lets you know how good their offense is, for the season, they're 64% on 3rd downs. This team, and it all starts with running the ball. We got 2 stud running backs, and they get them in 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2 pretty regularly.
And a quarterback who can run.
No question. And so, and King has been throwing the ball all over the field. Camden Perry's his favorite target. 65 catches, 1,400 yards, 16 touchdowns. He's an absolute baller, and that's King's favorite target, no question. But again, Vandergrift's defense is nothing to be fooled with. Again, 14 points a game is what they give up. 23 turnovers on the season. They can really play defense, and if they force some turnovers today, Longview could be in trouble. But I do think Longview is the better team because their defense ain't no slouch either. I mean, they give up less than 20 points a game as well defensively. So as much as you want to talk about how awesome their offense is, which it is, their defense is really, really good. And I think that's going to be the problem for Vandergrift because their quarterback, Drew Dawson, he's gotten better and better all season. And he's a dual threat guy. He's best when they're at their best as a team when he's able to run the ball and he's a threat with his legs. But that hasn't been the case necessarily all season, though he's been playing better. He's a junior. He's young. He's growing. He's getting better. Only 2,200 passing yards this year, but their guy is their running back, Isaiah Smallwood. This dude, 1,300 yards, 16 touchdowns. He gets 23 carries a game. They want to run the ball with this guy. So that's really their recipe for success. Run the ball with the quarterback Dawson and with Smallwood and force some turnovers and hope you can get the dub. But Longview is just through and through. They're the better team, and they do it on both sides of the ball. They can win any style game you want. Run the ball, pass the ball, great defense, shootout, 10-7, whatever you want it to be. The Lobos got it. So I think they win this game, but it is a strength-on-strength matchup. And Vandegrift, if that defense shows up and forces some turnovers, then we could have ourselves a fun matchup.
Yeah, the difference maker for the Lobos is Haynes King.
Absolutely.
That's it. So it's. I do. Like, again, we talk so much about our teams here in North Texas. We don't deviate. And now that we're in the playoffs, we're finding out a lot. I don't know much about the Vipers, but I know they better have a game plan for Haynes King.
And they're a quality team, but we've seen Longview play obviously within this district here. A lot of area teams, Rockwall, the Mesquites, coming over with that district realignment. And Longview, man, they're as good as anybody in the state. They easily could be. If you want to say Longview's the best football team in Texas, aside from Allen, obviously nationally ranked number 1, I'm not going to argue with you. Longview is the real deal. They absolutely dismantled a very good Prosper team last week.
Yeah, that's a Prosper team that offensively we know what they can do with Wayne Anderson at running back and whatnot. They held them under 100 yards rushing last week. That Longview defense is really, really good, and it's the offense that gets all the credit, which is understandable because they got these guys. I didn't even mention their offensive tackle, Marcus Williams, who's going to TCU as well, 6'6", 300 pounds. This dude's an absolute monster.
Just a man.
So when you combine that with the dual threat, the running backs and the quarterback. I mean, these guys. Longview is one of the better teams in all of the state, no question.
And one of the things about Longview that's a little bit special, and this is something that I just was told about 15 seconds ago by Chance Williams in the other room. Zach or Eric, you talked about it earlier about the guys in the other room. Well, they're doing their job. And Chance let me know that Logan Peters, he's an athlete for Longview. He has only one hand. And I've got the fan tag cam up. This is from last week here at the Star. And I want to go to the fan tag cam here for just a moment and look at the laptop here. But this is a touchdown catch from the tight end for Longview from last week, Logan Peters, who ended up getting this touchdown. I guess we do not have the fan tag cam up at the moment, but I have a touchdown pass from Logan Peters, and we'll look at that here a little bit later. I might have to retweet it, but it was pretty cool, him being able to reel one in with the one hand, and a lot of fun to see that happen. But this is going to be a classic matchup. I think Longview, one of the best teams in the state, but Vandegrift really underrated, and I think Eric, you talked about that at length, and also I think I really liked their logo as well, the V with the Viper in it. I thought that was kind of cool. Looking on the bottom side of the bracket, let's just look at the bracket as a whole here. Mesquite Horn and Westfield. These are two teams that we've talked about at length. I know Mesquite Horn, of course, with their big time win last week over Wiley. That's a team, guys, that started 0-7. I know we've talked about it week in and week out, but it's worth mentioning over and over again. I think that's absolutely incredible. You start 0-7 in the adversity you go through with that, and now you're in the third round. You're in the regional semifinals. What a story for Mesquite Horn, and they've got another tough test this week with Spring Westfield on the other side.
Fellas, let's just be honest, all right? The Jaguars are pinching themselves because they had no idea that they would be 3 games away from being potentially in a state, getting a state, going to the state, right? Mm-hmm. Just they couldn't have, all right? Look, there are like, what is it? Pixar Entertainment, Disney, like, was it Angels in the Outfield, Lion King, what is it? The Toy Story. These are just
classics.
Classic overcoming adversity kind of cartoons. This 0-7 team, they have to get their own movie because if they end up winning state,
they win state, no doubt.
That'd be awesome. They win state, it is going to be the story of overcoming huge adversities. I mean, look, the first game of the season, you guys called me crazy for picking them.
Yeah, we did. We're still calling you crazy for picking them to beat Allen.
But it took them about 7 weeks to get over their Allen-induced coma, right? Mm-hmm. So we've seen those teams not be able to return back to themselves after the shellacking that Allen gives them, and Horns just lasted a little bit longer. But let's just be fair. I mean, the Mustangs of Westfield are big. They are bad, and they are tough. And what they bring to the table, guys, they have a quarterback by the name of Terrence Gibson. Grown man, okay? They have a few running backs, receivers, but defensively, they are big and scary looking. I mean, this is just... I think this is going to be this is where, for Horn, maybe their carriage turns back into a pumpkin.
Gotcha.
It's all about Jermaine Givens for Mesquite Horn, is it not? I mean, it is. And you look at the difference over that span, the last 4 weeks. Jermaine Givens is averaging 411 total yards and 4 touchdowns a game.
Chuck,
that's it right there. And coming into the season, Jermaine Givens was a 40 touchdown player from a year ago. And you thought that's why you picked him to beat Allen, was Jermaine Givens. And
Chuck,
he struggled.
Let me tell you something, Chuck. I hope that Jermaine Givens got his cape out of the cleaners yesterday.
He's going to need it.
He's going to need to be Superman. It's just going to have to be that way tonight.
It's just incredible when you think about these teams, though, that Mesquite Horn had to play. Like when you reel it off, Allen, Highland Park, Cedar Hill, Arlington, Rockwall, Longview. I mean, they've been playing playoff games all season long in terms of the caliber of competition. I mean, they've literally played a gauntlet of teams, and granted, they didn't show out or show success really in any one of those. But I mean, my goodness, when you look at that schedule, it's no wonder they lost as many games as they did in the regular season. Those are all teams still competing for state right now. When you look at Allen, Highland Park, and Longview, and Rockwall just gave Allen the run of the year so far. So
and we talked about that. We were like, hey, did they cost themselves by playing such a competitive slate? Because when they first got into district play, it was like, oh no, they kept losing. We thought, all right, they'll go 0-4. They'll get into district play. All will be right with the world. And then, oh my goodness, it's 0-7. We look up. We got to win out. Well, they've done it. And now you look back at it, and the games and the teams that they've played, there's nobody that they're going to see the rest of the way throughout this playoff run that's better than Allen.
Nope. They're not scared of anybody.
That's better than Highland Park,
except for maybe these big boys that.
But Spring Westfield does have a lot of size. Yeah. And they're a perennial playoff team as well. They're accustomed to being here in this spot. They're there year in and year out. Another one of those phenomenal programs outside the DFW area.
Well, you got one more.
Yeah, I do. You know, Mike Overton, when he was doing the schedule for the Jaguars, he couldn't have thought that they would start 0-7 because of the matchups that he put into. He obviously figured that his team would at least stand up to one of those teams.
Mesquite, just go beat somebody. Come on,
fellas. But I want to say that this guy, this kid from one of the Mustangs running backs, Rashawn James, downhill runner. When you look at this kid, I mean, literally everything he's doing is behind his pad level. He's not a big kid. I'm looking at the stats. It says 5'9", 170 pounds, but he is bowling over guys out there. I just think this is going to be a very unique matchup for Horn tonight.
No, it definitely will be. And if Horn does move on, then I'm sure a movie might be in the works. We'll get LA on it. We'll talk to our people.
Pixar
we just want some royalties.
Eric will be the head coach. Zach will be the great broadcaster. Right. Heckma will be the
something.
The center on the football team. I don't know. We'll figure something out.
He's Jermaine Givens.
Afterlife.
Oh, man. A lot of fun here at Whataburger Friday Night Stars. We're through hour number 1 here from the Star in Frisco. We've looked at the 6A Division I and Division II brackets. When we come back, we'll look at every other side of the Texas high school football playoffs, including the North Texas teams. We'll be back with hour number 2 here in just a moment here at Whataburger Friday Night Stars.
Nothing works up my thirst for an ice-cold Pepsi Cola like getting buckets. Whether I'm breaking ankles or breaking hearts.
Hey, Drew.
It always brings the refreshment, and I've been drinking it a long time.
Drew, how old are you anyway?
Man. Doesn't matter. Uncle Drew, in theaters, June 29th. The future tastes good.
Hey, football fans, check this out. It's called FanTag, the easiest way to get video highlights from all of your games. As a parent, I know the value of capturing our kids' special moments on video. FanTag makes it easy to relive a memory or share it with family, friends, and recruiters. Download the FanTag app, and on game day, find your event and get instant highlights delivered right to your phone. So never miss a moment. Try FanTag today. It's free.
This is Academy Sports and Outdoors. We offer a huge sports and outdoors selection of top name brand gear like you've never seen. All at low prices like you've never seen. Because we're a sports and outdoor store like you've never seen. Visit us in store or at academy.com for the guaranteed lowest prices. Academy Sports and Outdoors, for all for less.
Little ideas can turn into big dreams. Big dreams require careful planning and the right partner. A partner dedicated to helping you take care of your employees, protect your business, and plan for the future. It's sometimes overwhelming. It's often exciting. It's your story, and we can help. SWBC.
Today at Whataburger, we're cooking the sweet and spicy bacon burger.
The sweet and spicy bacon burger is my all-time favorite.
I love this burger. It's just perfect.
2 beef patties, 2 different types of cheese, caramelized onions. My favorite thing about this burger is the sweet and spicy pepper sauce and the bacon. You get it in every bite.
Nothing beats this.
The sweet and spicy bacon burger is an all-time favorite at Whataburger.
That's happiness.
You want to bring the heat? Prove it. With carbs to help fuel muscles. And electrolytes to help replace what you lose in sweat. Studied, tested, proven. Nothing beats Gatorade.
On a forbidden Fansville by Dr. Pepper.
Ramon, we can't.
But Julia,
We're rivals.
I can love you and still hate your overrated school.
We have 2 different defensive philosophies. You're a base 4-3 cover 2, and I'm an
aggressive 3-4 with press coverage. I get it, but we both love Dr. Pepper.
Oh, Ramon.
Touchdown, State!
Yes! In your face!
Dr. Pepper, the official drink of Fansville.
I know we're entertaining in Whataburger Friday Night Stars, but we are nowhere close to the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders. That's going on right now, just about 100 yards away outside the Ford Center. The Christmas Spectacular every Friday, I believe, until really Christmas.
I think maybe Friday and Saturday.
Is
I
it
think
really
they do the
Friday
double
and
dosage.
Saturday? That's awesome.
So
That is
getting the Christmas
America's
sports, Kyle.
sweethearts.
This is
I have
all
one
weekend,
question.
baby.
Why am I in here with you and that's going on
I don't know.
100 yards away?
We should be
We need to
lined
do a
up
live
out there
shot.
on
Yeah.
the desk.
I don't know. We should get them some Bob Lilly gear. I think
They need some Bob
They
Lilly
probably
gear.
look a little better.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's
Those
tough.
uniforms are classic.
That is tough to do. But before we get into 5A and the rest of the 5A brackets and stuff, we really talked at length about that 6A bracket with Duncanville in it. We do have Adrian Jagish, who is out at the Duncanville-Arlington Lamar game. There's been a lot of trash talk between these two sides on social media this week, but Duncanville, of course, right now the favorite, or so it seems. That'll be a pick'em game later, but we'll check in. Adrian Jagish, what's going on out at Vernon Newsom Stadium in Mansfield?
Hi guys, it's Adrian Jagish reporting live here from the Vernon Newsom Stadium in Mansfield, Texas, where tonight the Duncanville Panthers are going to go head-to-head with the Arlington Lamar Vikings. I'm really excited for tonight's game. Should be a really good one, as the Panthers are currently undefeated this season. They have a record of 11-0, and so it should be a really good matchup for the Vikings. It is a little bit gloomy outside. There was a lot of cloud coverage, but as I've always say, a little bit of rain doesn't stop Texas high school football, so I'm really excited to see what is going to go happen tonight. Maybe gloomy outside, but spirits are high, so stay tuned. I'll keep you guys updated.
Thank you very much, Adrian. And yeah, it's a little gloomy. The weather going to play a factor.
A little rain won't stop you. Maybe a tornado might. I don't know.
A tornado.
A little bit of lightning or a tornado. Let's get the kids out of there.
I mean, Texas high school football's big, but ain't that
Just
big.
duck and cover. Everything will be okay.
Everybody stay safe out there. There is a tornado watch above I-20, so do want to let that be known.
But tornado or not, we better get a Adrian Jagish post-game update.
I hope so.
With
Yes.
tornadoes in the background, do your job.
Adrian will be there.
Yeah,
He's also a
there.
storm chaser on his off day.
I think he also did some meteorology work sometime along the way.
He knows.
We'll figure it out. But let's go into 5A Division 1, starting with Region 1. This is really an area-centric region. We've talked about a lot of these games.
I love it. Once again, an area region.
Exactly.
It's beautiful.
Lots of Dallas-Fort Worth teams there, including a rematch up at the top. Actually, this is Region 2. We'll start with Region 2 real quickly. Highland Park and Mansfield Timberview up at the top of that. Oh, nope. We're going to go back to Region 1. Maybe so. Let's talk about Region 1. We'll start where Region 1 was. Birdville and Grapevine. That's the first real matchup between those two teams. And if you're Birdville, you look at this game as a real opportunity. You're 11-1. You've got a real chance to knock off Grapevine, who is your district rival. This game at the Ford Center tomorrow, and really both teams coming off of big-time wins. Grapevine over Caprock, Birdville over Cooper. What are you thinking in terms of this game, Zach, about Birdville and Grapevine?
Well, look, Birdville, it has been that story all year, right? With Stone Earl and Ladarius Mixon. But Cade Rhodes has been picking it up lately. And that first meeting was very, very close. I think it was a 4-point game, 24-20.
Yeah, low scoring.
If memory serves.
A little surprising.
That Birdville defense, we talk, this keeps on coming up. These defenses, because of the high-powered offenses we get, kind of start to get overlooked, unless it's a defensive-led team like the Denton Ryans and the Duncanvilles. But both these defenses have been playing better. But that Birdville defense, I think it's been stingy all year long.
Yeah, no, they definitely have. And when you go back to that rematch earlier in the year, Week 6, what a game it was, going down to the wire. And Grapevine had a chance in that game. They're at the 4-yard line with 15 seconds left. They can't punch it in. Birdville makes the big defensive stop. Shout out to that Birdville defense, Zach Walchuk.
Birdville defense, baby!
Now, here's the thing. The thing that what shows you that Birdville, I think, is the better team is because they had 2 turnovers in that game. And Ladarius Mixon, though he's been dominant this year, he had less than 100 yards in that game.
He had 97 yards.
97 yards. There you go. Thank you, Heckma Harrison. And how many touchdowns, Heckma?
One,
absolutely. Now, last week he had 3 touchdowns and over 200 yards rushing. On the season, the dude's an animal, 1,900 yards and 23 touchdowns. I think this is a Ladarius Mixon revenge game. It's not that he had a bad game, but for him and for the season he's put together, it wasn't one of his best performances. He's been unbelievable this year despite that, and I think that's really that's really the difference for me, besides the fact that I would give the nod to the Birdville defense over the Grapevine offense. But both of these offenses, they just explode for touchdowns. The quarterbacks have combined for 67 touchdowns through the air on the season. What's up, pal?
You've had a lot lot about that Birdville defense, but
I saw he gave me the look.
It's okay.
As soon as he gives me that look,
it's okay.
I know
No biggie. But we were talking about this Birdville defense, but what about the Grapevine defense over the last couple of weeks? I know they gave up 28 points against Caprock.
That's a lot of points, Cal.
But only 14 points against Crowley, and then Carrollton R.L. Turner. They ended up shutting them out. So overall, that defense has played well as of late.
Yeah, no, they have, but I think the level of competition there, the level of competition there is the problem. Now, I know my boy, is it Driscoll or Drysdale, linebacker for Grapevine. He's definitely a player to watch. He's had some big interceptions, returned for touchdowns in multiple games against my alma mater, Northwest Texans. When they beat them earlier in the year, he had a huge game. So, I mean, I think Grapevine, they forced 2 turnovers last time they met, and they still didn't do enough to win the game. And I think that's what scares me the most if I'm Grapevine is we limited Mixon, we forced 2 turnovers, we took care of the ball, we didn't turn it over, we still lost the game.
And Hegma, I'll ask, we'll all talk about this. All right, so we've got several rematch games, and we saw several rematch games last week. And we'll talk about this coming up with Miles Dunklin when it comes to Highland Park and Mansfield Timberview.
Yeah.
But one, the benefit of a team that lost now coming back, it's your second chance. What you've seen this team, you know what you didn't do right, especially a game as close as the Grapevine-Birdville game was. Do you think that benefits Grapevine in this situation with playing with Birdville? Yes, they got those 2 turnovers. I think their defense feels good about the matchup. Offensively, though, I think Cade Rhodes right now is playing his best football by far of the year. He's been magical this last month of the season.
Yeah, I said it last week when I made my video from glamping.
Oh, yes.
That familiarity does breed contentment. When you see 2 teams that have played each other before, I mean, I've seen you, I know you. Remember that dirty shot you gave me? I'm gonna give it back to you.
And you did.
And the tape is there. But
don't shake your head at me.
Ladarius Mixon, you know, like you said, he has been unstoppable pretty much throughout the season, being held to 97 yards, 1 touchdown. Again, that's the one guy in this game that if he goes off, it's over. Birdville's going to run. The other thing about it is, and I think this is very interesting, you brought this up too, Cade Rhodes is literally turning the corner where you're seeing that he is elite. And in North Texas, we have so many great young quarterbacks, sophomores, juniors, seniors, just take a name out of the hat, right? Cade Rhodes is amongst them. But the one thing about playoff football that you got to know when you're a throwing team, if anything happens, you turn the ball over, momentum killer all the time. And then you have to start doing something that you're not accustomed to doing, and that's running the ball. And so it's not that they don't have a running back, because they do. Rashawn Prier is pretty good. He has about 1,100 yards on the season, so he's no slouch.
Yeah, pretty decent,
okay,
right?
He's pretty decent. And so one thing is when you have to put on a different costume and become something that you're not, can Grapevine do that? I think Birdville has shown that they can rely heavily on a running game, but also if they have to throw it on you, they can air it out.
And to piggyback off that, when we talk about the weather, that's a team that all these teams we've talked about, Grapevine's the one that I think would be affected the most if it's windy and raining, and that passing attack then is not as effective.
Well, tomorrow it's going to be here at the Star, so that's going to
weather conditions. Don't worry about them. It's indoors, baby. Grapevine's fine.
That's the only thing. And the other beauty about tomorrow is the weather. It will be windy at a lot of these games, but the rain shouldn't be there. Tonight is where the weather comes into play more so than necessarily tomorrow. But the Ford Center here can get a little breezy.
Zach, how do you feel right now?
Oh, let's rewind that and erase it.
No, dude, listen, this is going to be incredible. I think the fact that it's inside on the turf makes it more fun because it gives the offenses more of a chance for this to be an explosion of offense. Again, only 44 points total scored in that first matchup. Mm-hmm. These teams put up 44 points in their sleep all season. Yep. So I'm expecting a little bit more of a shootout this time. And again, Heckma, you said it, advantage Birdville with maybe slightly better defense and very, very dependable running game. I don't think they can match that.
And these are 2 teams that don't like each other at all, which will make this fun because it's the second time around. You get a little bit of that rematch. Like you said, the familiarity's there between these 2 teams, and they were jawing at each other the first time around. Now you've got playoffs at stake, seasons at stake. It makes it a little bit more fun going into it, especially with the Star being the venue which they'll be playing at. But sticking
no better venue.
No better venue whatsoever. But sticking with that District 4,
besides the conditions,
yeah, the decision.
The elements at the Star.
Hey, you know what? AT&T opened the roof.
Whoever out of the 2 teams that are in that game, Birdville or Grapevine, they were both beaten by Denton Ryan in district play. And Denton Ryan's on the other side of the bracket, waiting for them if they were able to get a win against Lubbock Coronado. And Coronado, a team that beat an Azle team last week, 41-34. That's the same Azle team that took down Colleyville Heritage 52-20. So this is not a bad Coronado team by any means. One of the best teams coming out of West Texas in the 5A rank. And I think Denton Ryan's going to have a tough matchup here. But are the Raiders really going to be challenged that much?
I just want to tell you, I saw Lubbock Coronado last year destroy, literally destroy in a game, playoff game last year. It's big and fast.
Yeah.
I don't know if they will be able to match the intensity, but I'm telling you, when I saw them last year versus Colleyville didn't have an answer for them, and it was a long 4 quarters.
Yeah, it's a different team for Coronado, and Coronado and Ryan met last year as well. Probably in the round prior to them knocking off Heritage, the winner probably would have played Ryan. Coronado went on. They lost to Ryan by 20 in that game. So they also put up the most points that any team put up against Ryan last year.
Did you just shut down my whole Coronado thing right there?
No, I think Coronado's a good team. I just don't think they're better than Denton Ryan. In all honesty, if I'm being completely, honest with my feels, I think Ryan's about to big brother all 3 of these schools we just talked about. They're about to put them all in their place and steamroll back to the state semifinals.
That's not a bad prediction by any means.
But look, this Coronado team is solid. They rallied against Azle. They had one of the most exciting wins of the playoffs last week. They averaged 40 points a game on offense. They've got a soft. They're just young. They had to replace Quay Gray, who's now at Eastern Illinois, who was their starter last year, who was amazing. Now they've got sophomore Sawyer Robinson, who's had a good season. He had 328 yards, a couple of touchdowns last week. Can also get it done on the ground. But their best player is Blair Conwright, the TCU committed receiver, had 14 catches last week. He is so good. The thing is, Ryan has such great athletes on the outside. And just by the way, Drew Sanders, who didn't play in the bi-district round of the playoffs, he didn't need to. He made his debut as Ryan Raider in the playoffs last week. And boys, what do you think the guy did?
Oh, well, besides dominate the game, yeah, I mean.
He had a pick 6. And he ran for a 46-yard touchdown out of the Wildcat. And then his day was probably done. I don't think anybody played in the 4th quarter of that game for Ryan last week. So Drew Sanders is a man amongst boys, but Seth Hennigan right there at number 12. And
I was waiting for you to get to the Hennigans, man.
And that's Amani Bailey, who's also an outstanding player for Ryan. That's the thing. Ryan just has so many athletes. For Seth Hennigan, who's a sophomore quarterback, both these schools having to replace outstanding quarterbacks that graduated last year. I mentioned Quay Gray, Spencer Sanders for Denton Ryan. But Seth Hennigan stepped in and has gotten better and better as the year's gone on. And really all he's got to do, as you can see in some of these highlights, is just get the ball out in space to some of these athletes that they've got across the board, whether it's Amani Bailey, whether it's Drew Sanders, whether it's Robinson, whoever it might be. They've got a plethora of big, fast athletes, and I just think it's going to be too much for Lubbock Coronado. Not that they're not a good football team. I just think Ryan is that much better, and that defense is up there with the elites in all of Texas high school football.
If Drew Sanders isn't do they do about division? I don't know if it's just the high school defensive player of the year, but Drew Sanders has to be in that conversation.
No doubt. He has to be in that conversation. And this is actually a matchup or a rematch of last year's regional final where Denton Ryan ended up moving on to play Highland Park in the state semis later on down the roads. And that Highland Park team now still defending their 2-time state championships. They had the matchup last week with College Station. Let's go down to that Region 2 bracket and take a quick look at really the entire bracket as a whole before we get to Highland Park specifically. But Frisco Lone Star at the bottom, I want to make note of them because 49-21. Holy cow, what a big time win for Frisco Lone Star at the that was at McLean Stadium down in Waco. 49-21 over Lufkin. And then Lancaster falls to John Tyler in a good football game. But overall, Mansfield, Timberview, Highland Park, we talked about rematches with Birdville and Grapevine. This is a rematch in its own right. And we've got Miles Dunklin, the voice of the
Miles
Dunklin. And, of course, we've had Miles on before. Miles, welcome back to the Star.
We got to introduce you right. Miles Dunklin.
Miles Dunklin.
That's actually pretty good. I like that a lot, actually. But, Miles, welcome back into the studio. Glad you're with us again here.
Thanks for having me.
And overall, Miles, you look at this matchup, 49-7. Highland Park took this one and really took care of Mansfield Timberview in district play earlier in the season. What was the key to that ball game, and how is this one going to be different this week?
Well, I think Mansfield Timberview, to be honest, wasn't really putting their best foot forward in that game. They didn't play their quarterback, Jordan Davis. He's now back in the mix. But the key to that game, Highland Park completely dominated what's been a really potent running game for Mansfield Timberview. In that contest, they held Timberview to only 62 rushing yards. I mean, they ran for almost 450 last week against Magnolia West, which was a really good team from a good district. But I think Timberview really didn't put their best foot forward in that game. They're playing a lot of new guys. They mixed up their scheme. And at least the Scots have been able to convince themselves and their players, this is a brand new team they're playing, not the team they beat 42-7.
Come on, Miles. It's going to be close. Come on, Miles. Tell the people it's going to be close.
Well, I don't know exactly how close the game's going to be. All right, Heckma, but I can tell you that it's going to be more competitive than the last game. I can give you that.
How much does having their quarterback back in play, how much does that totally change things for them?
I think it gives them a lot more confidence. I'm not sure that he's a guy that's going to make up a 35-point difference, but he definitely makes you respect, in that zone read game. You look at guys like Stacey Sneed. I mean, they went for basically, he went for 300 yards himself last week. Monte Dawson, outstanding sophomore, went for over 100 as well. It's not like Davis is super dynamic, like he jumps off the film to you, but he gives them a lot more confidence. He's their senior starter of a team that has a lot of young guys.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you, man, I have been, and everybody, these guys will co-sign here, I've been a bit of a Highland Park hater. I'll be the one to step out on the limb
think
and
that
be
anybody that is outside the Highland Park program, and Miles, you can feel free to jump in here because I was there not too long ago. I was on the outside looking into Highland Park. Yeah. I think most people do not like Highland Park until you get into the program, you see how they go about their business, and then you realize, wow, these guys are just the real freaking deal. So you're not alone, Heck.
I was about to make a point, though.
No, go for it.
All right, cool.
But you're not alone in your hate.
Right. And so, but what I saw last week in the game versus College Station completely got me on the bandwagon. So I need the bandwagon application from you before you leave. Can I get the PDF format of that? Because I am on board. Chandler Morris.
Yeah.
In that game. You see, if you watch football long enough, you start seeing players go from good or kind of good, really good, and then there's great.
Yep.
Chandler Morris last week, he went to great. I saw him. He literally threw the ball across his body, out route on the opposite hash mark. It was a laser. That is it. Look, man, I don't care how long you play the game. That's a very difficult throw to make. There are a lot of guys in college and in pros that can't make that throw. Mm-hmm. This kid at 17, 16 years old is doing it on a daily basis, and to be able to fit balls in small windows the way that he does, and it's not like people are just sitting back saying, okay, Chandler, just throw it wherever you want to. These are contested passes. But I'm telling you, last week I just had to just say it. I'm like, wow, you don't see that.
25 for 36, 396 yards, and 3 touchdowns last week for Chandler Morris. That's a big boy stat line in a game where you go up against a former or a reigning state champion as well in College Station, a game that really there was a lot of adversity there for the Scots, though, Miles, right?
Yeah, they really did not play well in the first half. They came out of the first half with only 7 points. There was a lot of frustration, not only for us in the broadcast booth, but the Scots down on the field.
Yeah.
They shot themselves in the foot quite a bit, but they really had it rolling. I thought that they were the superior team on the field. If you look at the stat sheet, they completely dominated the stat sheet in that game. College Station, their 2 drives were about 35 yards and about 42 yards. So they really never moved the ball throughout the game. But to your point about Chandler Morris, that was the biggest game of his career to this point, and he put up a career high. He also ran the ball very well, but a lot of credit has to go to their receiving core. And there was a great article in the Dallas News this week about, yes, Chandler Morris is a nominee for Offensive Player of the Year, but they have an outstanding group of receivers. They're extremely well coached. And talking to their quarterback coach, Tristan Weber, this morning, had a nice conversation with him on the phone, and he talked about their receivers are just so good technically. They're able to get whatever they want and get the opposition into their technique and then set them up and make big plays. And that's what they did last week.
Yeah, the football intelligence really just jumps off the screen when you watch a team like Highland Park, especially at the high school level. You don't see that kind of detail-oriented team do and be that effective for as long as they have been. I mean, it's just incredible. But you mentioned that Timberview, they threw the schemes and the playbooks out the window there after the loss to Highland Park with 2 weeks left in the season. They changed the schemes. Is that offensively? Is that defensively? I mean, what do they do? What do they do different?
They have some new guys in the lineup on offense. They scrapped a couple of their seniors, and they're playing some young guys. They're playing some sophomores. They also went from a 4-2-5 to a 3-3-5 stack. They have some really talented defensive backs on this team. Jalen Kimber is a really talented player, number 7, and they're going to move these guys all over the field. So they're going to match up with whatever they think their advantages are in the given week, and they're going to play man-to-man. We expect to see Jalen Kimber playing Finn Corwin a lot tomorrow night.
So, Miles, all this means is that they get beat by 60 instead of 30 this time.
Well, I just want to ask about, you mentioned the last time we had John, the defensive line was a little banged up. And from what I got to see from the College Station game, it seemed that Prince Dorba really stepped up and emerged whenever Highland Park needed to play on the defensive line. How has that been, kind of the health-wise of that rotation and Prince Dorba's play here in the postseason?
Well, Dorba's been dominant. I mean, he's also a nominee for the Defensive Player of the Year, deservedly so. And Prince has been great, but they're very well coached on defense as well. The thing is that at one point last week, they were playing without basically 5 of their top 6 linebackers, which was really remarkable. But they got Cal Hershey back. He was out there playing with a brace on his wrist, a heavy tape job. He gave them a big shot in the arm. And they're also going to pick up Chris Reed back this week as well, who's been their most productive linebacker. So they were able to weather the storm. They got guys they're never going to get back. Their team captain, James Lightbourne, their most productive linebacker in the early going, Andrew Bonnet. Those guys are both done for the year. But the guys they have, they've coached them really well, and they're very, very deep. A lot of teams would be totally done with the amount of losses they had at one particular position group. But thankfully, they're so good on the back end, and they're so dominant with their pass rush. The 3 guys they have up front can get pressure with just 3, and you guys know how much easier that makes it on everybody else.
Yeah, you look at the game last week with College Station and Highland Park. It was really one of the few times they've been tested all season long. One of the first times they were tested, or maybe the first time they were really tested, it was against Frisco Lone Star, and they're waiting on the other side of the bracket with a matchup with John Tyler, that game being played later on, or I think it's tomorrow, that matchup. But with that being said, what do you know about this Lone Star team, and what do they bring to the table in a game against John Tyler tomorrow?
Well, a really good defense. You know, they're very well coached, and they're very athletic. They have a lot of size in their secondary, and what that can do with a lot of teams, you know, in this spread era we're playing in, you get guys out in space. If you have a dominant athlete that actually has some size that can play one-on-one, well, that gives you a chance to have some success. And they do a great job of that. They also have some weapons on the offensive end with guys like Marvin Mims. So, you know, Lone Star is a team, they don't have a long history, but as long as they've been around, they've been winners. And they believe in themselves, certainly, as a winning program. And I would say that Highland Park was frustrated after that game, talking to guys like Chandler Morris and Randy Allen and their coaching staff. They felt like, hey, we should have scored more points in that game. So I think they feel confident. But, you know, that's a team when you guys asked me, you asked me earlier this year, who's the team that can give Highland Park trouble? What's going to give Highland Park trouble? And my answer was, hey, Frisco Lone Star was able to press them and have some good athletes on the outside. They have some really good athletes on defense, and that should be a tough test for them next week.
Well, and Lone Star is a much better team now than they were earlier in the
season.
I mean,
they're first 14 turnovers on defense in the last 4 weeks. And Marvin Mims, you brought him up. I've been saying it for the last 6 weeks or so. He's their guy. I mean, we talk a lot about Julian Larry. If Mims is going, that's when Lone Star's at their best.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. The other thing about it is when you look at John Tyler, and just discovering who they are as a football team, you got to look at their losses that they've had. I mean, I think the first loss that they had in the season was to Cedar Hill. They got blown out. The next game, I think it was a rivalry game to Longview. They got blown out. They had a lot of penalties and things like that where you see they came unglued. Looking at Lone Star, every game that they've played in, they've been competitive in those losses. Even, you know, again, in those losses, I think that the one game that they just got beat head to head was the Highland Park game. The Colony game, I just got to throw the weather in that. They played in a torrential.
It was a hook and ladder.
Yeah,
but at the end to lose it.
Yeah.
You know,
but it took something special to get the victory, and you said it, man. When teams in this new RPO offense era, when defenses come out and they pressure you and they get up on you, that throws off the timing of that offense. And Lone Star is the one team in that district that can do that.
And what I will say about that is that that's easy to do, I think, for a quarter or a quarter and a half or 2 quarters. Can you play that style for all 4 quarters?
Commit.
That's a lot. That's a lot to ask out of your kids to be able to lock down and not make a mistake. We're going to play one-on-one. To do that for 4 quarters, especially against a team like Highland Park that does a great job of adjusting. And I don't want to get too ahead of ourselves here because they still have a game to play tomorrow.
Yes.
But they're so well coached there at HP, and they're able to figure out little things throughout the course of the game where they can take advantage.
I'm sure Randy Allen was absolutely just laughing his face off whenever he heard that Timberview was changing up their schemes and you know, throwing everything out the.
It's a good tune-up against that new 3-3-5 right before they play the Lone Star 3-3-5.
They've played a lot of that scheme.
Have they?
But I will say that Randy Allen is a guy similar to a Bill Belichick.
He's not laughing.
In that he makes his guys believe on Monday and on Sunday that they're unbeatable. And then maybe on Monday they feel like they have a little chance to win, and by Friday they feel great.
Yeah.
But they do a great job of hyping their kids up about, look, this is a different Timberview team. They are not the same team. They treated this like it was a brand new season, the last 2 games, and that's their attitude going into tomorrow.
I'm Highland Park and Mansfield Timberview. A game tomorrow. John Tyler, and Lone Star in that Division I Region 2 of 5A. Miles Dunklin, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, guys.
Here on Whataburger Friday Night Stars. Always glad to have Miles Dunklin, a part of the Game On Sports crew.
Miles Dunklin.
Miles Dunklin.
You guys do it better than I can. You got it done. But when we come back here on Whataburger Friday Night Stars, we're going to talk about 5A Division 2 and 4A Division 1 when we come back. Here from the Star in Frisco, we'll take a quick break, and we'll return in a moment.
Yes, yeah, that's a heck of an ordeal to do. Frisco did it.
The sweet and spicy bacon burger.
The sweet and spicy bacon burger is my all-time favorite.
I love this burger. It's just perfect.
2 beef patties, 2 different types of cheese, caramelized onions. My favorite thing about this burger is the sweet and spicy pepper sauce and the bacon. You get it in every bite.
Nothing beats this.
The sweet and spicy bacon burger is an all-time favorite at Whataburger.
That's happiness.
Little ideas can turn into big dreams. Big dreams require careful planning and the right partner. A partner dedicated to helping you take care of your employees, protect your business, and plan for the future. It's sometimes overwhelming. It's often exciting. It's your story, and we can help. SWBC.
Hey, football fans, check this out. It's called Fan Tag, the easiest way to get video highlights from all of your games. As a parent, I know the value of capturing our kids' special moments on video. Fan Tag makes it easy to relive a memory or share it with family, friends, and recruiters. Download the Fan Tag app, and on game day, find your event and get instant highlights delivered right to your phone. So never miss a moment. Try Fan Tag today. It's free.
This is Academy Sports and Outdoors. We offer a huge sports and outdoors selection of top name brand gear like you've never seen. All at low prices like you've never seen. Because we're a sports and outdoor store like you've never seen. Visit us in store or at academy.com for the guaranteed lowest prices. Academy Sports and Outdoors, for all for less.
In a world where a young family embarks on an incredible journey, a son gets lost in an epic film. A father wills his team to victory, while a mother tries to talk to her daughter, who is posting online at a rate she has never seen until now. With high-speed Wi-Fi, free live TV and movies, there's something for everyone. Download the American app, and the best in entertainment travels with you.
Here from Whataburger Friday Night Stars, live from the Star in Frisco, and that is the Dallas Cowboys locker room inside the Star, just down the hallway. We've got one more segment to get you ready for the regional semifinals, and then we will be back at 9 o'clock. So glad Miles Dunklin was able to...
Miles
Dunklin. Yeah, see, you guys are way better at it. But
in general.
So glad... Yeah, well, that's fair, but... So glad he was able to join us and talk some Highland Park and a little bit of that 5A Division II
I love you,
ranks. Thanks, buddy. Or Division I ranks, rather. Let's look at 5A Division II, though, starting with Region 1. And we'll get through this pretty quickly because we've got some predictions to get to as well here in a little bit. But starting with the Region 1 bracket, you've got Wichita Falls, Ryder, Canyon, Randall up there at the top. That game being played tonight in Childress, way out in West Texas. And then you've got Lubbock, Cooper, and Justin Northwest. That one's at ACU's Wildcat Stadium.
That one's
that's your people, right?
Yeah, that's my people. Yeah, that one's
that game started at 4.
Yeah, and it ended about 4 minutes ago.
Oh, did it?
Yeah.
It's over already? Wow, what a fast game.
What happened to me?
It was a quick one. My Texans had 4 turnovers, boys.
Oh,
no.
And they only scored 14 points.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
My Northwest Texans have put up like 70 points.
Yeah, that's shocking because they've been a juggernaut on offense.
The thing is, you play Lubbock Cooper. You're used to playing Fort Worth Polytechnic, and this is when it comes to bite you. In the third round of the playoffs, that's going to come to bite you. You haven't played anybody since Grapevine in week 2. They smoked you, okay? And then you go out and you dominate a bunch of lowly teams, and now you meet a Lubbock Cooper team who was only giving up 14 points a game. That's exactly what they gave you. 4 turnovers. I mean, you're never going to win a game doing that. Their guys, I mean, Ahmad threw 2 picks. He didn't have the 400-yard outing like he's used to. Demarius Hosey at running back. He had 165 yards rushing, but he had 35 carries. He only averaged just over 4 yards an attempt. This dude's 8 yards a carry, 400 yards a game. I mean, this guy put up crazy numbers. So it just didn't happen. That Lubbock Cooper defense was far too good, and Northwest I kind of get what they had coming to them. When your schedule's that easy, you know, at some point you're going to face a juggernaut.
Are you calling it the Cupcake Division?
I think I'm doing that.
Well, still a great season for Northwest.
An incredible season.
I mean, they won their first
You're
district title in 50 years.
Why do you do that for him, though?
What do you mean?
How you just
look? If Lincoln were winning games, buddy, I'd have your back too.
Is that right? Thank you, see that? Do you see that? I didn't say anything about Lincoln.
I went ahead and volunteered you to be the new head coach there. By the way, they're looking for one.
Look, don't even get me started about the resigning head coach at Lincoln High School.
These are my Texans. Look at these are my Texans, man. Woo! Out here making plays. I mean, they got the skill guys. I mean, these guys have been putting up 50-something points a game, tons of yards, and they just couldn't do it. That Cooper defense is really, really good, and that's really the first good defense they've faced in 2 months.
Yeah, so. Cooper and Coronado out of the Lubbock area are always very competitive schools.
Definitely so. And you look at Justin Northwest, also a team that's not really used to being there.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely, and that's because
in that position as the favorite.
Sure, and it's because they're usually in much tougher districts, and they're usually a 4 seed, and so their first round matchup is usually against one of the teams that we see in the 6A rankings now. Guys like Allen and stuff. That's who we used to face in the first round. Coppell, when they were doing their thing, that's what we would face in the first round and get bumped. And now they're playing Wichita Falls. You know, it's the third round before you see a good team.
Yeah. It's a tough matchup, and you look at Lubbock Cooper and you look at Justin Northwest, and for a team that hasn't been there, if you get that far and you face a juggernaut like Lubbock Cooper, it's a tough thing to make that adjustment after, like you said, playing a little bit easier of a schedule. Not an easy schedule on the docket this evening, though, for 5A Division II, Region 2. Oh, my goodness. We've got 2 incredible games in this region tonight. How about Aledo, South Oak Cliff? We've had this one scheduled, circled, and highlighted since we saw the bracket released, that these 2 teams can meet each other. Well, it's happening, and it's happening tonight. We had Coach Jason Todd on, sitting in Heckma's chair last week, and that was outstanding after his big-time win over Frisco. Aledo, on the other hand, they are the juggernaut. They are the favorite. And then you've got Reedy and Burleson Centennial down there at the bottom. Let's start with Aledo, South Oak Cliff. Are you as excited about this Heckma as you thought you would be?
Scared?
It's until I'm sitting here, I'm filling out my bracket, and I'm like, all right, suck state champions. Let's go, baby. We love Jason Todd. We love the South Oak Cliff Golden Bears, man. They're a great team. Their defense is fun to watch.
Their uniforms are awesome.
They're awesome. And then I went ahead and I watched that Aledo game last week versus Lovejoy, and I realized, oh, snap. Aledo, we talk about Highland Park and how well coached they are and just a methodical. Aledo is that in their own respective region and area. The Bearcats, man, they are in every area, especially on offense with Jason McClellan, the OU commit at running back.
What's his last name?
McClellan.
Okay.
And you have JoJo Earl, who's going to be one of the best wide receivers in DFW, the best, man.
The best.
He's a sophomore right now. He's sensational. Jake Bishop, the long line of the Bishops. and they've just got a winning tradition. They've reached the state title game 7 out of the last 9 years. It's an uphill battle for South Oak Cliff, but they've got all of DISD behind them in this one.
All right. I mean, South Oak Cliff, just giving you a little backdrop to the Oak Cliff pride that's on the line right now. South Oak Cliff was a school that probably 3 years ago, they were doing specials about how the school was falling in, how they were going in and getting asbestos out of the school and doing all kinds of investigating into Dallas Independent School District to find out what's going on at South Oak Cliff. What did Jason Todd do? He went to that school. He injected pride in it. The football players, they do all kind of community stuff as far as cleaning up around. It's a changed program. And look, Aledo is a school, guys, that have been there. They've done that. They've year after year after year, they have the numbers to prove it. For South Oak Cliff, it starts right now. It starts right now. If they want to pave their way, they want to go to state, it has to go through one of the toughest teams in the state, period. And when we talked to Jason Todd weeks ago, when we first got him on, what did he start talking about? Preparing, and we start talking about those Adamsons and the teams that he had, like those Fort Worth teams where you say, well, wait a minute, that may be a powder puff game for you. You may not, they may lower your expectation, but you have a tough division. That's exactly what he said. I'm always talking to my guys about what we're going to do in those first, second, and third rounds, because everything that we're going to do is going to lead through Aledo. Well, all the talk is over. Now you got to do it.
And it is defense of that South Oak Cliff Golden Bears, number 1 defense in 5A versus the number 2 offense in Aledo. That is going to be the matchup I think all of us have been waiting for. But can that Sauk offense, we saw Sean Sims last week, they turned the ball over a couple of times, they can run the football.
Cameron Davis.
Casey Cook. Yeah, Cameron Davis. They got some players over there, man.
Yeah, and I just think the difference in this game, you know about the stars, and they got Parker over there, might be a defensive, player of the year. I mean, this guy's an absolute animal. And then you mentioned McClellan on the other side. I mean, those are probably, when you get down to it, probably the 2 best players on the field, and that's just going to be fun that they're going to be on opposite sides of the ball, and you'll see a couple of matchups. Who knows? Maybe McClellan's got to do some blocking on old Parker. That's just going to be fun there. But you talk about how it's best on best. Well, let's not forget that Sauk puts up 50 points a game.
Oak Cliff.
And Aledo only gives up 13 points a game. So they're great on both sides of the ball, but I think the difference in this game is the quarterback position. I just think Bishop brings more to the table through the air
than Sims.
I do. And I think Bishop can also get it done on the ground. They're both dual threat guys, but Bishop, I trust his arm through the air if the game's on the line and we need to make plays through the air. I think Bishop's the guy that can do that over Sims. That's just my opinion.
Well, Bishop better turn around and give the ball to his running back and not be the one that's trying to do it, because if Sauk knocks him out of the game,
I'm just worried about the Golden Bears over pursuing a little bit. I mean, we saw against Frisco, no bounties. No bounties. We saw against Frisco defensively, they'll get upfield in a hurry, and that's the one thing Aledo will catch on, because they love running those quick, just get it out into the flats, let JoJo Earl, let Chase McClellan, let these skill players out wide, just work them, and all of a sudden they catch a DB, they make a man miss. That's going to be the key, tackling and making sure you stay in your lanes for Sauk. But Jason Todd has done an incredible job, and this is a Golden Bear team. They're playing with nothing to lose, man. It's us against the world. Aledo expects to be here. They expect to be in a state championship game. South Oak Cliff right now, from this point on, it's all gravy, baby, especially if they knock off the Bearcats.
If South Oak Cliff wins this game, this is a game that'll be remembered for a long, long time. If Aledo wins this game, it's just another game on the way to Aledo trying to win another state championship, which is unfortunate, but that's how it is. And Aledo earned their way to that position. Aledo earned the way to be able to get to the point to say that this is just another step in the path along the way. South Oak Cliff has something to prove, and that's why I'm excited about this football game, because it's a little bit of a different mindset on both teams. I think that's a great point. Frisco, Reedy, and Burles and Centennial awaiting the winner of that Aledo South Oak Cliff game. This is a game that really could just be as good as anybody else thought it would be. Centennial, a team who we didn't really talk about a ton throughout the regular season, but all of a sudden they've just thrusted themselves onto the scene, and they've been awesome.
Well, I guess who their only losses to?
Who is it?
Aledo. Woo. So, they're 11-1. Their one loss is to Aledo. And they're also a very good team. They came from behind to beat a good Corsicana team. They scored 14 unanswered points. They ran the football effectively. They had 292 yards and 4 touchdowns as a team. They've got a committee approach. Their defense has 3 shutouts on the season. They've been great this year. They give up 18 points a game, as you see there. But for Frisco Reedy, this has been a historical year. They win their first ever district championship, first ever undefeated season, first ever playoff wins, first time being ranked in the AP poll.
Fosky, Fosky, Fosky!
I was waiting on it.
The fourth best offense among 5A teams, averaging 230. Well, you can see all the stats. I don't need to give them to you, man.
Fosky.
But Michael Ferrara at running back, too, has been a force to allow a lot of balance. We know about Fosky. The dude is a beast.
Mike Ferrari.
They're throwing the football over the place, but Mike Ferrara at running back, man, he's bringing the bolognese. Get out the way, because this is a very complete Frisco Reedy team.
It's a very complete team, and really a team that could win a state championship at that level, but you've got Aledo waiting. If Aledo gets through, if they don't get through, then you've got South Oak Cliff. So no matter what, who emerges from this, it's going to be another heavyweight matchup next week, and that's how it is in Texas high school football. That's what you got to love about that win by or survive and advance mentality. It's definitely in play. Let's go to 4A really quickly. 4A Division 1. Division 1 Region 1 is where we'll just quickly look at the bracket, and then we'll look at some of the area teams as well. Region 1, you've got Canyon and Hereford there, and then Decatur. Wichita Falls,
Decatur
Hershey.
against the Hershey Huskies.
How about Decatur, though, and the
Making
Eagles?
a run.
We're going to give them some love later on in the overtime show, but Decatur and the Eagles making a big-time win and a big-time statement last week, 41-28 over Andrews. They deserve to get some eyeballs on that football game, because that's going to be a lot of fun at Newton Field. Now let's go down to Region 2, and this is where we see some of the area teams, including a rematch from a district matchup out of District 7 4A. Argyle and Salina down at the bottom. Waco La Vega and Paris. That game happened last night. So let's go quickly into Waco La Vega and Paris. This is a final score where Paris actually early in this football game ended up going up in this football, or early in the first quarter. They ended up scoring on a 68-yard touchdown run, but that was about it. And the stats aren't there from that game. We didn't have access to those. But 38-20, La Vega put up 17 unanswered and were able to just kind of rally to a win. Now it sets up La Vega versus a potential Argyle matchup if Argyle is able to advance in the next round in their rematch versus Salina, and that's a very familiar.
Oh, is it, man? These two teams have already been talking a lot of smack with one another.
Very familiar.
And Argyle has defeated all these teams. They've already beaten Salina. They already beat Waco La Vega.
Yep.
So Argyle's sitting pretty right now, and their last meeting was 3 weeks ago, and Argyle absolutely smacked Salina. I think the final was 63-21. Now, this has been a very competitive series over the last 15 years. Argyle's got the 7-5 edge. In Salina, they call this Salina time. It's the playoffs. It's Salina time. They just turn it up to a new level come the postseason play. And their head coach, Bill Elliott, provided some bulletin board material for Argyle.
Oh, I like it.
And I don't know that was necessarily the best idea, but they are very confident, and their head coach is trying to give that confidence to his team. He said, I don't think Argyle is getting any better. They're still the same team they were 3 weeks ago, and they're not improving. They're already a good football team, but they don't have the ceiling that we do.
Well, that's the thing. When you've already maxed out at the very, very top, there's nowhere to go. I think that's actually a compliment to Argyle. They're so good, they literally can't get any better.
Bo Hogaboom is going to throw
Bo
1,000 yards.
Tito
tonight.
Bice, Dylan Carter, that Argyle defense, they're going to unleash some pain on Salina. Now, Salina's playing really well. They're confident, and they are a much better team than they were 3 weeks ago. They have grown a lot. Noah Ross is playing great, but their offense revolves around Logan Point, and Argyle completely shut that down in their first meeting, held Logan Point to just 21 rushing yards. If Salina has a shot tonight, Logan Point's going to have to get going.
And we're talking about Argyle and putting up big-time numbers, Bo Hogaboom throwing for 1,000 yards. Heck, Mo, what'd you say earlier? Sock in mouth?
Yeah.
This is a potential for that to happen because we're giving Salina no chance here. And I think
and look, that first game I think was just it was a snowball effect turnover-wise. I mean, Salina came over. They turned the football over early in that football game. They allowed Argyle to jump out to a massive lead in that one. And if they can come out, not have the special teams errors, not turn the ball over like they did in the first quarter and spot Argyle 3 touchdowns, it should be much more competitive. But to me, Argyle is the best team in 4A, period.
Well, with that being said, if Argyle does move on, and you said this just a moment ago, they've already beaten the 3 other teams left in this district, or at least this region, going into the regional semifinals. Paris, they defeated by 8 points. They defeated Salina, who they played tonight, 63-21. However, Waco La Vega, who beat Paris last night by 18, that game was as close as Argyle has come to losing. 31-29 was that final score earlier in the season, and it took 14 unanswered points in the fourth quarter for Argyle to win that game and be able to beat Waco La Vega. So if Argyle is to move on and is able to beat Salina in a rematch tonight, I don't want to discredit the Bobcats, but it looks like that might happen. If Argyle's able to move on, then it's another rematch between the only team that's really challenged Argyle all year long, and it really could decide who wins the state championship at this level, because both of those teams have been that good so far.
No doubt. And for Salina, they've got a pedigree that's up there with Alito, right? 25 straight playoff appearances, 8 state championships. That Salina time is no joke, but I just think this year, it's finally Argyle.
Well, I mean, Salina time should have ended 3 weeks ago versus Wilmer Hutchins, and it was.
That's true. That's a great point. They beat a really good Wilmer Hutchins team and a good Stephenville team that knocked Argyle out in this round last year.
Yeah, Salina has some on defense. A kid by the name of Logan Walker, 6'2", 240-pound defensive end, and he is coming every play. He's a junior, guys, and doesn't have a lot of offers right now, but he will be a difference maker tonight. He's going to have to be all over Bo Hogaboom because he's going to be airing it out.
He's going to be airing it out. He's going to be doing that indeed. But you talk about Salina time being the playoffs. Guess what time it is now?
What's that?
Prediction time.
Pick'em time.
We've got
to shine, baby.
Minutes to predict some of the best matchups around the area. We tried something new on Twitter this week, and it was a little bit. We put out graphics for each team in some of our prediction games. Only the games tonight were the ones that we'll look at, but we said, hey, go on there and retweet if you think who's going to win. Well, out of those games, let's just look at these 2 games. South Lake Carroll and Trinity. Trinity got 49 retweets, so they take down South Lake Carroll in that matchup, at least according to Twitter.
Well, their fan base for South Lake Carroll very disappointed in
49-4 retweet-wise. South Lake Carroll didn't retweet a whole lot. Now, how about Lamar's fan base? 52 retweets to Duncanville's 16.
Nice.
So the fan base is representing a little bit. The Trojans and the Vikings looking like they're going to move on if we're going by Twitter. But let's go by our own compass in terms of who we're going to pick. Starting with Burleson Centennial and Frisco Reedy. Heckma, since you were glamping last week, you still gave us your predictions. Who you got this week?
I got Foskey, Reedy.
Wow, that was easy.
Yeah, I'm going Reedy as well. I just think they're too explosive. I don't think Burleson Centennial is going to be able to keep pace.
Yeah, and I just think they're too talented across the board, and they play some of the most complimentary football as anybody in the area in terms of how good their offense is and how good their defense is. I'm going Reedy.
Guys, you know we can spend a little bit of time on this. We've got 10 minutes.
There's another game that I want to spend some time on when we get there. That we've completely neglected.
There you go. We're doing this on purpose.
Okay. Burleson Centennial and Frisco Reedy. I'm going with Reedy here as well. So it's across the board. Frisco Reedy and the Lions moving on. Burleson Centennial, that might be one of those games that sneaks up on us as a prediction, though. I think there's a good chance that
I didn't think they'd win last week, and they did.
Exactly. I think there's a chance that they can do that. Euless Trinity, South Lake Carroll, one of the games of the week. We'll talk to Ashley Pickle about this one here in just a little while. But Euless Trinity, South Lake Carroll, Apogee Stadium. Eric, who you got?
Yeah, I'm going with the Blondies, man. I just think South Lake is too good across the board. They can throw the ball, they can run the ball, and their run defense, which is really where this game is going to be won and lost. They shut down Coppell in the first round of the playoffs. Forced them to negative 30 rushing yards in that game. I think South Lake's defense is the deciding factor in this one. They get the victory.
I'm going South Lake Carroll as well. I think they're a better football team than Trinity. It'll be close. It usually is, but I think the Dragons will pull away.
Guys, I'm going Euless Trinity on this one. I just think the physicalness of Euless Trinity will come through. They lost to Haltom, and people left them for dead. I think they have something to prove in this game. They kind of gave up a lot of their swag 6 weeks ago in order for them to get it back. They were the team at the beginning of the season that we were all saying nobody wants to get in their way. And then all of a sudden, you start seeing South Lake Carroll start to get that reputation. Mm-hmm. I think it changes tonight. I'm going Euless Trinity.
Wow, okay, not a bad pick by any means. I'm going to go with South Lake Carroll here. I don't think it's going to be a blowout by any means, but I still think Carroll kind of controls this game a little bit. Maybe
is that chalk? Is that the definition of chalk? Is that chalk by definition?
I don't think that one's a chalk pick.
Cool.
For you, for Trinity? No, that's not. I wouldn't count that as chalk.
Good for you. I'm proud of you, Heckma.
Thank you.
He's making a conservative.
We're in his head now. Game on.
Making a conservative.
Not in my head. And if
there.
you are, I got a lot of room.
I wake you up in the morning.
Arlington, Lamar, Duncanville. This is one of the best matchups as well.
You're first, Kyle.
State.
You pick first, Kyle.
I'll pick first. I'm taking Duncanville.
He cannot take Duncanville.
I just circled it on
He
the paper.
cannot. Guys.
It's a cop-out.
It is a cop-out, right?
He's been all over Lamar all week.
All week. He's been on him on Twitter.
Flooding Twitter.
He is.
And he was the one that voted that you picked Birdville.
Is that right?
Oh, my gosh, I love Jack Dawson.
I appreciate that, and I stand by that, but...
That's his L. So would somebody please put an L, put a chain on it, and hang it around his neck? Because it's his.
Here, hold on. I picked Duncanville to be a state champion. And I did not pick against Duncanville at any point on Twitter this week. I never picked. I go on it and read it. Read it right now.
We'll do that. We'll do that during the break. We'll put it out there on social media.
I never picked Duncanville to lose. However, I did say this is going to be a closer game than I think a lot of people think, and
the Vikings are coming is the words he used.
Hey, they're winning.
They're going to make it a close
according
game.
to Twitter, but I'm taking Duncanville as well.
I think they're going to be a close game, and I think Duncanville will win, but I think this will be a one-score game.
This is an asterisk game for you.
It is not an asterisk game by any means. I'm the host. I get to say it.
Put your foot down, baby. Listen, Kyle, I'm with you, dude. The Duffel Bag Boys, as Heckman likes to call the Panthers, they're riding high right now.
I do think that's one of the best nicknames that we've ever come up with.
He's trying to climb back into your good circle.
I also used that hashtag this week.
It's because it's good. That's why you used it.
It is good.
I didn't say it wasn't.
So Duncanville across the board. Can we get into the best game of the night that we haven't talked about at all?
Introduce it?
It's unbelievable. I'm ashamed we haven't gotten to this game yet. It's here at the Ford Center at the Star in Frisco. Midlothian Heritage and the Carthage Bulldogs. And there is red all over the place. They've showed up in droves. Carthage, the Bulldogs, back-to-back state champions. 38 straight wins.
Say that again.
Back-to-back state champions. 38 straight wins. Woo! By the way, Allen and Highland Park that have these long winning streaks, that's the longest winning streak in the state of Texas. Put some respect on the Carthage Bulldogs. They have not lost a game since October of 2016, and they've made the playoffs every year since 2007. They're led by a really good quarterback in Gunnar Capps, but on the other side, Midlothian Heritage, one of those young programs like Frisco Reedy is, Frisco Lone Star, these up-and-comers, they've gone 34-4 in their first 3 years. They've lost in this round every year. They've got my man at receiver, Langston Anderson, the most underappreciated wide receiver in the area. They've got Landon Ledbetter, a 3-year starter at quarterback. This is the year they slay the giant. Carthage goes down.
Oh, my God.
Give me Heritage to kick the door down in advance, baby.
First loss.
I'm going with Midlothian Heritage to pull the upset.
38-1 in their last 39, according to Zach Walchuk.
It's shocking. Carthage is the real deal, but I think Heritage has the goods to score the points this year.
What's the matter with you? Are you okay?
I drank the Kool-Aid, brother.
Goodness, it sounds like it tasted incredible.
It was the best I've ever had.
Some of that, dude.
Extra sugar.
Well, Carthage is going to win. So
you know nothing about either team.
39
Picking the chalk. You know nothing about either team. Picking the chalk. Pick the chalk. I'll be out on the limb. That's fine with me.
Chalk.
He's going to go Carthage.
You're going with Carthage.
And there's nothing wrong with picking Carthage.
Well,
I just like this Heritage team.
I'm right there with you.
Really?
I think Midlothian Heritage
Did I sell
wins
it?
This game. No, I had this pick already.
Darn it.
I'm not as emphatic about it as you. I think this is.
It's going to be really close.
Pick. I think this is like you said. This may be the game of the week, and we'll have live updates from it later on the overtime show because it won't be concluded by the time we get started back up at 9 o'clock. But one more final game, and we saved possibly the best for last: South Oak Cliff and Aledo. Man, this is going to be an incredible football game. And I don't know. I had all four of the first 4 games circled. I don't have this one circled
and
yet.
it's because with our we love sock.
We do.
We love sock here.
We've been on the sock bandwagon for the beginning.
Our heart says sock.
But do the wheels fall off for sock, or does Aledo end up seeing their season come to an end?
My heart is with the Golden Bears. My brain, in watching both these teams play, I think Aledo's the more complete team, and they get the win.
I agree.
That sounded
I hate to do it. I hate to do it to Coach Todd. I love him. Friend of the show. But Aledo, been there, done that. Bishop at quarterback. McClellan, best player on the field. Alito.
I'm going to go ahead and go with Alito as well, leaving Heckma for last.
Lone Wolf.
Oh, Cliff, that's my hood. Put it in their face and make it understood. South on Cliff all day long. Come on.
I want that pulled, baby. Let's go.
I've already
That's
made
it. Let's go. Don't tell me about Alito. Oak Cliff, let's go.
By the way, you are FaceTiming into the team pregame, right, to give him the speech?
No.
He's already
Dang,
done that.
dog, you
did that
should.
last
He did the
commercial
glamping thing, and he
Well-
sent it over.
Boys, we've done our best for the past 2 hours to set up everyone that has watched Whataburger Friday Night Stars this week. First off, if you've watched, we're glad you did. Second off, let's enjoy some Texas high school football. It doesn't get better than the Texas high school football playoffs. We are about 40 seconds away from kickoff round number 3. By the end of the weekend, we'll be halfway through to crowning champions across the state of Texas. We're going to be back at 9 o'clock. Whataburger Friday Night Stars overtime starting back up at 9. We'll go to 11. We'll give you finals. We'll give you highlights. We'll give you interviews. We'll give you more arousing, just absolutely emphatic
We got it all.
speeches from Heckma. Come back at 9 o'clock. But until then, for Eric Giafalo, Zach Wolchuk, for Heckma Harrison, I'm Kyle Yeoman saying so long till 9 o'clock.
How about them Cowboys?